Chapter 546. Everyone was shocked by this outburst. The southern family heads thought that they were dissatisfied with the result and immediately started to clamor. A bunch of trash. Can't you just say that you can't accept it after being beaten? You should just go home and hug your wives to sleep. That's right. He came out to embarrass himself. He can't afford to lose. I was wondering how powerful the northern family head was, but it turns out that he's just so. On the battlefield, Qi Shuwen and Exen Ba kept their fruits of victory and returned to the southerners' side. They didn't want the northerners to suddenly go berserk and kill them. I'm not convinced either. The entire north was continuously shouting out their inner thoughts, and it had even turned into a chorus of shouting. Everyone's gazes were all looking towards Donghuang Baiji, who was on the stage. At this moment, only then did the southerners know that the person they were unconvinced of was their own big shot voidless realm. Sure enough, they still came. Jingshan remained silent. Since his honor didn't say anything, I don't dare to act rashly either. The head of the northern aristocratic family laughed inwardly. Empress. Today is the day you step down. Donghuang Baiji let out a light sigh. What is going to come will still come. This is something that cannot be avoided. Slowly standing up, Donghuang Baiji shouted out lightly, "Who are you guys unconvinced with? Against Voidless Realm. Voidless Realm. We won't accept Voidless Realm." The northern clan heads were very excited and shouted with flushed faces. Calling out to his queen in front of the southerners was not giving him any face at all. "Why don't you all accept me?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. "The longevity fruit is clearly under your control, Empress. Why do you want the southerners to get involved? You are a big shot of the north, not a big shot of the south." One of the patriarchs questioned loudly. He knew how to lead the conversation. Following his shout, everyone nodded in agreement. Donghuang Baiji asked faintly, "What do you all want then?" "Since the Empress can't take care of our north, then we'll choose another big shot." As soon as these words came out, the entire audience was silent. The people of the south were dumbfounded. It seemed that these people were preparing to force the emperor to abdicate. Who gave them the courage to do this? Donghuang Baiji looked towards the aristocratic families in the north. "What do you all think?" Dongfang Yuan Air remained silent because she already knew what was going to happen next. She appeared very indifferent. However, the other four had gloomy expressions. At this point there was no turning back. "Your Majesty, this big shot wants to protect the interests of the forces in the north, and your way of doing things is lacking consideration." Jiang Yuanzhou cupped his hands and said. At this time Yi Shao also stood up and said with a smile, "Your Majesty has worked hard these few years. Why don't you retreat to the city and enjoy life?" Chu He remained silent, feeling that something was amiss. The corner of Marshal Saint's mouth twitched. "We merely want the ancient godly artifact, while they are formidable enough to want the entire voidless realm." He Tian was also quite shocked. That's right, the northern aristocratic families have quite the appetite. With a realm of. Donghuang Baiji swept her gaze across the entire northern powers. "You all want me to abdicate?" Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Majesty, the benefits of the north are the most important." This time the entire north didn't get many longevity fruits, and they were all taken by the southerners. "Our benefits were all given away by your Majesty." "Your Honor," Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "Your Honor," Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "That's right. Change to someone who can protect the benefits of the north." "Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "Ha ha ha." Everyone in the north laughed out loud. Donghuang Baiji took a deep breath, then said faintly, "Since you all insist on doing this, then let's vote. Those who want me to abdicate stand on the stage." Yi Shao and the others were delighted. Judging from the Empress's words, it seems like she is going to compromise. This is normal. Facing everyone's questioning, furthermore it is a formal questioning, how can she be reasonable? The North began to make their choice, while the Southerners looked like they were watching a show. This is much more interesting than the martial arts competition. Not long later the entire stage was filled with people. Only 20+ people were still sitting on the stage and did not move. Among them was Qin Xuanzong. Although he hated the men on the stage, he would not go against Voidless Realm because Qinya was in Voidless Realm. Yi Xiao, Duan Ho and Jiang Yuanzhou stood on the stage. Their intention was very clear. Chu He, are you not coming? Duan Ho looked at Chu He coldly and asked. Chu He remained silent and sat together with Dongfang Yue. Yi Xiao snorted coldly. Chu He, don't regret this. In the end, Chu He did not stand on the stage and chose to support his empress. Donghuang Baizhi deeply wrinkled her brows. Although her face was calm, her heart was in turmoil. I didn't expect that so many people would dare to go against me. This is truly disappointing. It turns out that a single longevity fruit is able to cause their selfishness. No wonder they had to hide it for so many years. Duan Ho cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, you have also seen it. This is the voice of all of the family heads in the north. We have no other choice. Your Majesty, since things have come to this, please make a decision. Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely. Yi Xiao became even more arrogant as he slightly raised his head and shouted, The North's big shot should be someone who is responsible, not someone who betrays the North's benefits. Isn't that right, everyone? Yi family head is right. Well said, we don't need this kind of big shot. We need a big shot that thinks for the North, not a big shot that provides convenience for the South. Since things have come to this point, it is more or less enough. Right now, it is up to the Empress to make a decision. Meanwhile, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards were still standing at the side, not moving at all. This gave people a false impression that the Empress seemed to be about to compromise. The Southerners began discussing in low voices, guessing if the Empress will abdicate. If the Empress doesn't abdicate, how is she going to resolve the anger of these people? Could it be that she is going to kill all of them? Imitate Ji family? It shouldn't be possible, right? This Empress shouldn't have that kind of courage. In the end, she is a woman, she isn't as firm as a man. I have been the Empress of Voidless Realm for many years, but this is the first time I have encountered such a situation. Perhaps you all think that I am a bit indecisive, but today your performance let me know how to properly be an Empress. A layer of frost appeared on Donghuang Baizhi's face, and killing intent immediately emerged. Donghuang Baizhi clenched her fists. The ring on her hand emitted out a blue radiance that enveloped the entire martial arts stage. A bloody feast is about to arrive. Everyone turned pale with fright. What does this Empress mean? Is she crazy? Chapter 547. At this moment, the spectators on the tournament stage were a little flustered. This move of the Empress's was releasing a kind of bad news. However, what made everyone curious was that those Voidless Realm Imperial bodyguards still did not move at all. Just what is the meaning of this? The expressions of Yi Xiao, Duan Ho and Jiang Yuanzhou turned ugly. What is the meaning of this, Empress? Is she preparing to kill all of us? Aren't you afraid of the world's criticism? Duan Ho stepped out of the line and pointed at the Empress. This kind of posture was very arrogant and he did not take the Empress seriously at all. Yi Xiao shouted angrily, Empress, all the forces in the north are here today. Are you trying to copy the Ji family? Empress, if you dare to touch a single hair on us today, you will be ridiculed by everyone in the world. Jiang Yuanzhou also shouted. The northern clan leaders behind her also began to hoot, and even used filthy words to insult the Empress. That was because they had calculated that the Empress would not target them. If she continued to target them, their reputation would definitely take a devastating hit. The people on the southern side were also a little worried. If the Empress became angry and killed everyone, what would they do? But when he saw his big shot sitting there, he felt a little more at ease. Thankfully the Ying family was here. Otherwise he might have been scared *+ by now. Suddenly, Yi Hua, who had been sitting on the throne without moving, stood up and stood beside Donghuang Baizhi. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baizhi took a few steps back and stood at the side of her throne. Yi Hua sat down. Donghuang Baizhi simply stood beside Yi Hua. The actions of the two puzzled everyone present. What was the meaning of this? He didn't understand at all. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and took out a lighter. The clear and crisp sound of the cigarette being lit seemed to have ignited the fear in everyone's heart. Faint sparks were emitted from the cigarette butt, and a burst of green smoke slowly rose into the air. Yi Hua squinted his eyes and looked at everyone, then flicked away the cigarette ash. You all want to make my woman step down from the stage, but have you all asked for my opinion? Aren't you King the Queen's man? Who do you think you are? Someone in the crowd shouted in disdain. As for Qin Xuanzong, who was on the viewing platform, he looked as if he was watching a good show. This Long Outyan likes to put on an act as usual. Donghuang Baiji's beautiful eyes turned cold, and the ring on her hand flashed with a red light. Bang! The man who had just been arrogant exploded into a mist of blood, and the hot blood drenched the bodies of the people around him. Such a move scared everyone. What was that thing on the Empress's finger? How could it have such terrifying power? Could it directly take someone's life? The Southerner's scalp went numb. And the people on the tournament stage were even more so. The Empress's sudden change was a little hard for them to accept. Wasn't this a tyrant? It was completely unreasonable. Jiang Yunzhou's face darkened and he shouted, "Your Majesty, what do you mean by this? How dare you kill an innocent northern family head? Are you still a big shot in the north?" Donghuang Baiji's ring flashed with a red light once again. Jiang Yunzhou's expression changed drastically. He felt his body being pulled violently, and the spiritual energy in his body felt like it was about to explode. Bang! Jiang Yunzhou's body exploded in an instant, just like the previous one. Yi Xiao and Duan Ho's bodies were covered in blood. Both of them were extremely shocked. This empress really dared to kill. No, this was a show of force, a warning to others. However, just what kind of ring was that? It was acceptable for it to instantly kill a small family head, but to instantly kill a family head of an aristocratic family? Just what kind of thing was that? Even Ying Jingshan was shocked by the ring on Donghuang Baiji's hand. If it was me, I would feel a chill on my back. Ying Kongshi, who was behind Donghuang Baiji, was very proud. That is my fiancée, formidable, right? I even met my fiancée in my dream last night and had a lot of fun with her. Martial Sage and the other two were stupefied. Is this the strength of a big shot? This is completely unreasonable. Killing people is like killing chickens. Yi Hua took a deep breath. You all might not have realized it yet, but when I am talking, I don't like to be disturbed. Therefore, let me ask you all one more time, were you all trying to kick my woman off the stage just now? A ray of cold light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. These people sure have guts. So what if we did? We don't need a big shot who willfully kills the innocent. Empress, step down. Empress, step down. Empress, step down. Hearing those shouts, Yi Hua sneered, then I shall let you all see what it means to willfully kill the innocent. The ring on Donghuang Baiji's finger immediately let out a green light. 50 people could be seen walking out of the tournament stage. From their expressions, it could be seen that they were being controlled. What are you doing? Let go of me. Damned woman, let go of me. I don't want to play anymore. I don't dare to. Let go of me. The 50 people could be seen slowly walking to the bottom of the tournament stage and kneeling on the ground in an orderly manner. Right at this moment, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard finally moved. With heavy steps, the Imperial Guard walked towards the 50 people and stood beside the 50 people in an orderly manner. A person was kneeling on the ground and stretching out his head, and there was also an Imperial Guard who was wielding a blade standing beside the person. The faces of the Southerners were filled with fear, and they felt that even their breathing was a bit rough. Meanwhile, Martial Sage and the others gulped down their saliva. This is going to be a purge that comes from the Empress. The sky that was originally clear and boundless was already covered by dark clouds. The gloomy weather made the entire tournament stage even more oppressive, making it hard for everyone to breathe. The 50 family heads that were kneeling on the ground felt that the person beside them wanted to raise his head and look, but his body was not in his control. Yi Hua let out a mouthful of smoke and said faintly, "Since you all want to willfully kill the innocent, I shall give it to you all." Along with Yi Hua's hand moving, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard immediately pulled out the blade in his hand. Clang! The blade and the scabbard let out a heavy metallic sound, and the body of the blade flickered with a white cold light. The expressions of the 50 Imperial Guards were calm. When they dared to rebel against Voidless Realm, it was already a capital offense. Swish! Neat and uniform movements. 50 heads rolled onto the ground and 50 corpses fell onto the ground. A large amount of blood sprayed out and a scarlet-red liquid instantly flowed onto the ground. Some of the corpses were even struggling powerlessly. Such a scene stunned everyone. Not only the Northerners, even the Southerners revealed a frightened expression. This Empress is so ruthless. She killed them just like that. I'm afraid that after today she will become a blood Empress. Looking at those corpses, everyone on the tournament stage felt that their legs were going numb, and their lips were trembling. They wanted to run, but they were unable to muster up any strength. Yi Xiao and Empress Duan were stupefied. The scariest thing still happened in the end. This empress really dared to kill. Yi Hua slightly leaned onto the throne, took a deep breath and took a puff of the cigarette. Then he flicked away the cigarette butt and the faint flame drew an arc in the air, then fell onto the pool of blood and extinguished. Chapter 548. Domineering. Exin Ba shouted, his eyes filled with worship. This was a real man. Qi Shuwen, who was at the side, was also looking at Yi Hua, and it was as if his view of the world had been refreshed. No wonder Yi Hua was able to obtain the favor of the empress and heroine. Just based on what Yi Hua said just now, no woman would be able to resist him. As the sect master of Cloud Sect, Wu Hao didn't seem to be thinking about anything else anymore. This man wasn't someone he could surpass. No matter how hard he tried, he wouldn't be able to learn such a grand and imposing manner. He couldn't even learn to speak in a low tone. He was too manly. Qin Xuanzong went into a daze for a moment. This Long Outyan is too good at acting. Qingye must have been deceived by him like this. He was just a pretty boy and this empress actually appeared for him. Ying Jingshan's heart was also endlessly shaken. For his honor to be able to say such words with that imposing body of his, this is truly unprecedented. Ying Jingshan can only look up to his honor's majestic bearing and worship his honor's feet. Behind him, Ying Kongshi clenched his fists tightly. One day he would also be able to do this. At that time the empress would definitely fall in love with him. Just thinking about it made him feel slightly excited. While the people from the south were exclaiming in admiration at Yi Hua's toughness, they were also frightened by his iron-blooded methods. That scarlet-red blood caused people to tremble with fear, and there were also those heads that had their eyes wide open, seemingly not daring to believe such a reality. Murongji muttered, "The world has changed." That's right, the cultivation world is going to change. Looking at those headless corpses and those voidless realms' imperial bodyguards, the martial saint gulped. He Tian was speechless. His entire body was numb. At this time, Yuquan appeared in the void again and shouted coldly, "The northern family heads offended their superiors and were openly disrespectful to Her Majesty, forcing Her Majesty to abdicate in order to achieve their goal of usurping the throne. Their crimes are unpardonable and the heavens have no pity for them. They shall be sentenced to death." Following Yuquan's announcement, the entire hall fell into silence once again. Death penalty? The Southerners were astonished. With this slash, the entire northern power would decline just like the South. Donghuang Baiji, you have no right to condemn us. Everyone resist. Yi Xiao roared with all his might. His handsome face became distorted and terrifying. Duan Ho even had the intention to sink the boat and break the cauldron, and she shouted out, "Donghuang Baiji." Right now, Donghuang Baiji appeared to be very calm, and it was basically impossible to see the waves that were surging within her heart. As she clenched her hand, the ring on her hand started emitting out orange light. Something terrifying happened. The more than 400 people in the arena let out terrified screams, like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. It was extremely miserable. The sky darkened and a series of rumbling sounds rang out, adding to the terrifying atmosphere. What is that thing? Their spiritual chi has been sucked out. How is this possible? How is this possible? It can actually extract the spiritual energy from a person's body. Waves of white spiritual energy floated out of everyone's body, including Yi Xiao and Duan Ho. The extraction of spiritual energy was no less painful than grinding their bones, and it was even more painful than death. Originally, Donghuang Baiji had planned to give them a quick death. However, she didn't expect that they would still dare to continue to rebel against Donghuang Baiji and destroy the last bit of benevolence that Donghuang Baiji had shown to Donghuang Baiji. From now on, Donghuang Baiji became even more cruel and merciless, to the point where people even gave Donghuang Baiji a resounding title, Goddess of Despair. The miserable screams continued, and a large amount of white spiritual energy gathered in the air. Following Donghuang Baiji's snap, the large amount of spiritual energy dissipated into the air and entered the clouds. Raindrops slowly fell from the sky, drenching everyone's body. Everyone's body was already feeling cold, and when the raindrops landed on their body, they felt even colder, as if their entire body was going to be frozen. The more than 400 people in the arena had their spiritual energy extracted, and right now they were no different from ordinary people. They were gasping for breath and fear could be seen within their eyes. The heavy rain had drenched their clothes, and when the raindrops dripped onto their frightened faces, they were completely frightened to the point that they couldn't even speak. Continue. Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly. Blood Empress wasn't someone who would randomly call out. Yi Hua was very satisfied with Baiji's attitude. After this incident, the benevolence in my heart will be extinguished. This is a good start. The rain became heavier and heavier, and the pool of blood on the ground formed a small scarlet-red pond. The scene was terrifying and made everyone feel despair. This time, Donghuang Baiji didn't use her ring to control the people in the arena. No. Your Majesty, please spare me. I know that I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. I didn't do it on purpose. Please spare me this time. I miss my wife and child. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. Your Majesty, my wife just gave birth to a child. I still haven't seen my child. Please don't kill me. The people who were being escorted by the guards began begging in despair, and there were even a few whose legs had already turned soft. However, they were still dragged away by the guards, then forced to kneel beside the corpses. Fear and panic could be seen on the faces of the family heads who had their spiritual energy extracted. Especially when they saw the corpses that were lying in the pool of blood, because they knew that they would be the same later on. When the family heads who were lucky enough to survive saw this scene, they felt that they were really lucky. It is fortunate that I didn't rebel with them, if not I would have become one of the corpses as well. Thinking about this, Chu felt a lingering fear. God bless my Chu family. Hua hua hua. The heavy rain fell onto the ground and the entire arena was silent as everyone looked at the 50 people who were kneeling on the ground. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand. Clang. The sound of blades could be heard once again. The rainwater fell onto the blades, washing away the bloodstains on the blades, making the blades look even sharper. Not a single one of Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards showed any mercy. The rainwater flowed past their resolute faces. Kill. Donghuang Baiji shouted out lightly. Your Majesty, please spare me. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. Who can save me? I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. The guards waved their blades in unison and a silver light flashed. The entire world became silent and only the sound of raindrops could be heard. Below the stage it was already a sea of blood, and the blood even submerged the boots of the Imperial Guards. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji, who was wearing a gorgeous purple gown and golden crown, looked at the scene indifferently. Continue. The sounds of begging for mercy resonated throughout the entire arena, and the people on the stage were crying and shouting, begging the heavens for mercy. They don't want to die. Can't the heavens forgive their crimes? The heavy rain didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, and on the contrary, it was getting heavier and heavier, causing everyone's line of sight to become wet. It was as if even the heavens were feeling sorrow and crying because of this scene, but they were powerless to do anything. Batch after batch of people were being escorted below the stage and received the most severe punishment. There wasn't any mercy at all. Blades flashed time and time again, and the corpses piled up higher and higher, and the heads of the corpses were already submerged in blood. Chapter 549. Looking at the Empress on the stage as well as the man on the throne, everyone's mood became very heavy, because the two of them were too calm to the point that it was frightening. Could it be that all the pity in their hearts disappeared? The number of people on the stage became fewer and fewer, and some of them even fainted from fear. However, in the end they still couldn't escape from death. Until only Yi Xiao and Duan Ho, the two family heads, were left. Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards spread out to guard the surroundings. Their silvery white armor was stained with blood, and it wouldn't be washed away by the heavy rain so quickly. Donghuang Baiji looked at everything coldly. Voidless Realm's authority cannot be violated by anyone. Duan Ho suddenly laughed lightly, then laughed loudly. Voidless Realm's authority, huh? I'm going to die from laughter. Why didn't you mention authority during the Dongfang family's tragedy back then, Chu He? Do you think that you can hide from it? Back then we framed Dongfang family together. Dongfang Yuana, who had been silent the entire time, was moved, and a layer of tears appeared on her beautiful eyes. They finally admitted it. As for Donghuang Baiji, your father killed all of the men in Dongfang family, so what if he knows that Dongfang family is innocent? What authority? It's all bullshit. Chu He turned pale with fright. I didn't expect that Duan Ho would drag me down with her before death. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted, Your Majesty, please spare me. Chu He, just now how many people begged for mercy and all of them became headless corpses. Do you think that Dong Huang Baiji will spare your life? He is a demon. Haha. Dong Huang Baiji, you will suffer retribution. You killed so many people, just wait for the gods to descend. They will exterminate your voidless realm, ha. Yi Shao had already completely gone mad and even his speech seemed incoherent. Duan Ho laughed loudly as well. That's right, I, Duan Ho, request the gods to descend and execute this damned Dong Huang Baiji. At this moment, a golden ray of light descended from the sky. The heavy rain instantly stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and the warm sun illuminated the ground once again. This situation caused everyone to be stunned. Did the request really come? Oh God. That's a godlike existence. Even Ing Jingshan seemed very excited and he stood up. Within the golden ray of light, 3 figures could faintly be seen. This allowed Yi Shao and Duan Ho to see their final hope. A deity has descended, and what is waiting for Voidless Realm is the most severe punishment. The two sneered in their hearts. Punishment? Now it should be your turn, Dong Huang Baiji. A wave of godly might was released and everyone could feel it. It's really the descent of a deity. Ing Jingshan was dumbfounded. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed to the golden radiance. Following Ing Jingshan's action, the people from both sides respectfully knelt down and kowtowed to the golden radiance. Even the big shots of the Ing family had knelt down. What reason did they have not to? However, Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were still calmly looking at the scene. Gradually, the golden light dissipated. 3 figures appeared in the middle of the arena. The one who stood in front of the group was a woman. She was wearing a pure white dress and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. Her skin was as exquisite as white jade, and she was so beautiful that her entire body was emitting a coquettish aura. There was nothing that could be done about it. Recently, she had been nourished by a man and her entire face was glowing. The green and red brothers were standing behind him. They were wearing green and red robes and their hair was tied up to their waists. They looked very stylish. Because Yi Hua knew that the 3 of them would pray to the heavens, I shall bestow them with hope. Everyone at the scene looked at the 3 people who had suddenly appeared and gulped. Were these gods? That woman is so beautiful and there's also the one behind her. Are gods so fashionable as well? They even dyed their hair. Forget it, let's ignore these details. These are gods we are talking about. During these 2 days not only did I see big shots, I even saw a god. I should be satisfied for the rest of my life. Qi Shuwen said in a low voice. So these are gods? They are so powerful. That's right, this godly might is making it hard for me to breathe. Exen Ba looked at the 3 people at the scene with a frightened expression on his face. Martial Saint and the others also obediently knelt down and kowtowed. As expected of a god, the godly might that is being emitted from them is actually able to cause people to feel fear in their hearts. That high and mighty aura seems to be able to dictate everything. Zishan was originally a god and it was very easy for her to release her godly might. Lord God, save us. Yi Shao immediately knelt down and crawled to the front of Zishan, then kowtowed with all his might. A blood stain immediately appeared on Zishan's forehead. Duan Ho was the same as well. While kowtowing, the veil that Zishan was wearing fell off, and everyone saw Duan Ho's face. Compared to the high and mighty god, Zishan's face is simply... Duan Ho shouted out, Lord God. Dong Huang Baiji killed the innocent and tried to disturb the world. Look at these corpses, they were all killed by that damned slut. Lord God, please give us justice. Lord God, this Dong Huang Baiji is inhumane. She robbed us of our spiritual energy and killed countless innocent people. Lord God, please choose someone else. Even now Yi Shao was still unwilling to give up. Even if he has to die, he still wants to kick Dong Huang Baiji out of power. After hearing what Yi Shao said, Zishan didn't pay any attention to Yi Shao. Along with the 2 actors, behind her, Zishan walked forward. Looking at this scene, everyone's heartbeat quickened, and their bodies trembled from nervousness. Will Voidless Realm fight with a god? It is obviously impossible. From the looks of it, the Empress is going to suffer a calamity today. After all, how can the entire Voidless Realm be a god's opponent? From the looks of it, the Empress is going to take action against Voidless Realm. The Empress is going to be out of luck and that man is going to be out of luck as well. After provoking a person like a god, there is basically no chance for one to survive. What a pity, what a pity. Facing such a shocking change in the situation, everyone silently mourned for Voidless Realm. After all, no matter how strong Voidless Realm is, it is impossible for them to be stronger than a god. Even if only 3 gods came, they would still be able to exterminate Voidless Realm. From the looks of it, the Empress has kicked an iron board. Subordinate pays respect to your majesty. Following Zhou Xian's shout, the 3 people kneeled down towards Donghuang Baiji. Right now everyone was stupefied. Is this an auditory hallucination? Or is it an auditory hallucination? A god is actually kneeling down in front of the Empress and he even called himself subordinate. How is this possible? This is a god, an existence that is even stronger than a big shot. Why is a god kneeling down in front of the Empress? This is impossible. Yi Shao and Duan Ho were stupefied. The 2 looked at the kneeling god blankly and found it hard to believe. Even in death, I won't believe that a god is kneeling down to Donghuang Baiji. Hallucination. This is definitely a hallucination. Everything is fake, everything is fake. Jingshan was also stupefied. However, when he thought about the strength of a supreme overlord, he felt at ease. Only Jingshan felt at ease. The others were all unable to digest this kind of information. This is a terrifying god. Chapter 550. Donghuang Baiji slightly raised her hand, and Zishan and the others stood up and respectfully waited for her orders. This kind of attitude of voidless realms caused a chill to run down one's spine. This voidless realm is already so big that it can drive people crazy. Even the gods had to bow their heads in submission. Ba hurriedly asked his master, "Master, is this really a god?" "Judging from his aura, he is indeed a god," Elder Feng said calmly. "Master, why are you so calm?" "As I am also a god." Ba's jaw dropped. He didn't expect his master to be so powerful, and he didn't expect to have a god as his master. Yi Shao and Duan Ho went crazy. They thought that a deity would come and save them, and they even thought that a deity would eliminate Voidless Realm. However, never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that even deities were Voidless Realm's subordinates. This kind of fact was something that the 2 of them were unable to accept. Immediately, the 2 of them pointed at Donghuang Baiji and cursed at her loudly. LV Liang and Yi Hong's figures flashed and instantly returned to their original positions. Their speed was so fast that people thought they hadn't moved at all. However, Yi Shao and Duan Ho's heads rolled on the stage. Even in death they refused to believe that this was real. Everyone in the south gasped for breath. Even the deities are standing on Voidless Realm's side. Just thinking about how they were threatening Voidless Realm just a while ago, Voidless Realm's legs became numb from fear. Voidless Realm wouldn't kill us all in one go, right? It felt like even the Ying family couldn't save them now. Donghuang Baiji's gaze looked towards Chu He, who was kneeling at the side. The latter felt the Empress's gaze and lowered his head. "Chu He, seeing that you have reflected on your actions in time, I will be lenient in your punishment. I will strip you of your aristocratic family title and cripple your cultivation." Donghuang Baiji said coldly. Chu He rejoiced in his heart. Today he finally managed to get his worthless life back. He hurriedly kowtowed in thanks. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing me. There's no need for Your Majesty to make a move." Chu He clenched his fists and ruthlessly struck his dantian, scattering the gathered spiritual energy. From then on he would become an ordinary person, unable to gather spiritual energy. Donghuang Baiji shifted her gaze away and looked at the remaining people from the north. The latter hurriedly knelt down and shouted, "Your Majesty is wise." Donghuang Baiji then looked at everyone in the south. "Empress is wise." All the southern family patriarchs shouted in unison. Donghuang Baiji sighed in her heart. Sure enough, only an iron-blooded method would be able to achieve such an effect. I have killed so many people and I am no different from Ji family. However, the main point is that they are still shouting about how wise they are. Firstly, she was in the right. Usually when one tried to usurp the throne, the other would die, so she was in the right to kill him. More importantly, she had a powerful husband like Yi Hua. No one would dare to provoke her. Yi Hua stood up and hugged onto Donghuang Baiji's willowy waist in front of everyone. Speaking of which, I can only use my wife to act cool. Such a powerful woman is something that only I can enjoy. Are you all jealous of me or not? Disperse. Yi Hua shouted lightly, then disappeared from the stage along with Donghuang Baizhi. Zhou Xian and the other two also disappeared from the stage. However, Yi Hua still passed a secret message to Ying Jingshan. After receiving his honor's order, Ying Jingshan didn't dare to say anything, and all he had to do was to follow his honor's order. Following the departure of Yi Hua and Donghuang Baizhi, the pressure on the entire martial arts stage immediately decreased, and everyone let out a sigh of relief. The Empress is still very rational. She only killed those traitors and not the innocent. My fiancé left and she didn't even take a single look at me. However, it doesn't matter. When I become stronger in the future, I will naturally be able to gain the Empress's attention. Looking at Yi Hua's actions, Qin Xuanzong felt indignant for Xianxia. Just you wait. I was scared to death. I thought that I was going to die. Xinba patted on his chest. Just now he was scared to the point that he almost peed in his pants. Qi Shuwen was the same as well. All of the news that he heard today was too shocking. Voidless Realm is already so powerful that even the gods have to hug onto their thighs. Everyone was thinking about the same question, just whose thighs are the gods hugging onto? However, judging from the performance just now, it should be Donghuang Baizhi's thighs. Furthermore, Donghuang Baizhi's ring is so powerful. As for Donghuang Baizhi's man, it can only be said that he is too lucky to have such a powerful wife. I am truly envious, jealous and hateful. Why didn't such a good thing happen to me? It is very honorable to be the Empress's gigolo. I don't make a fool out of myself at all. Looking at the corpses that filled the ground, everyone couldn't help but shiver. This is too savage. Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards began cleaning up the corpses, while the people from the south also left one after another. The people from the south couldn't help but wish that they could announce to the whole world what happened today. Of course, the content of the announcement was only praising the Empress for suppressing the traitor, and what massacre, nothing like that. The Empress did right, people like that should be killed, what's the point of keeping them alive? Before everyone left, Ying Jingshan called the three family heads to the tavern that they were staying at to discuss some matters. The three family heads were a bit surprised, but they still went to the tavern and sat on the wooden chairs obediently while looking at Ying Jingshan. Ying Jingshan wasn't in a hurry as he slowly drank his tea. After closing the lid of the cup, Ying Jingshan said lightly, "You all should have seen what happened today. Although the North suffered a disastrous loss, Voidless Realm's strength is beyond our imagination." Marshal Saint nodded his head, then cupped his hands and said, "Ying family head, although Voidless Realm's foundation is strong, our South's potential is still very big." That's right, this time Xin Ba and Qi Shuwen's performance was too sudden. I feel that we should focus on nurturing them. He Tian echoed. After a few years, when the ancient godly item appears, it is only natural for the two of them to replace the positions of aristocratic families. Murongji's expression was very serious, seemingly as if he was discussing the South's future. Ying Jingshan took a deep breath, then said faintly, "Seems like you all didn't understand what I meant." After hearing what Ying Jingshan said, the three were very puzzled. Did I say something wrong? I didn't feel wrong at all. Voidless Realm is indeed very powerful, but we aren't that bad either. Murongji cupped his hands and said confusedly, "Ying family head, we will definitely train hard and strive to bring glory to the South." Ying Jingshan let out a light sigh, then shook his head and said, "There are some things that can't be achieved just by working hard, because no matter how hard you work, you will never be able to surpass the other party." This time the three family heads understood what Ying Jingshan meant. Ying family head was a bit discouraged. Seeing how powerful Voidless Realm was, he felt a sense of powerlessness. Thinking about it, Voidless Realm is able to order gods around. Just based on this point alone, Ying family has fallen behind a lot. It was only right for Ying family head to receive a blow. Ying family head, as long as we, the South, work together, we will still be able to fight against the North. He Tian felt that he should be cheering for Ying family head. You are the only big shot in the South right now, and you are going to lead us to glory. Ying Jingshan smiled helplessly. You all still don't understand what I meant. The three family heads were stupefied. Just what do I mean? Chapter 551. Upon hearing those words, Marshal Saint He Tian and Murongji's expressions stiffened, and Marshal Saint said emotionally, "Ying family's leader, you must not do that. You are a big shot of the South. If you really do that, the South's face." Marshal Saint hurriedly swallowed back the words that he was about to say. As for He Tian and Murongji, their faces were also filled with anticipation. They hoped that Jingshan would dispel this terrifying idea. Slowly putting down the teacup, Jingshan chuckled, "Maybe you guys still don't know this, but I've already submitted to you a long time ago." The three of them couldn't help but hold their breaths. Their entire bodies stiffened as if they'd been struck by lightning, and their minds rumbled. I had already bowed down to them a long time ago. A big shot from the south actually submitted to Voidless Realm. If such a news were to be spread out, the entire cultivation world would be shaken. In that case, doesn't Voidless Realm have the final say in the entire cultivation world? Family's clan head, how can you submit to Voidless Realm? He Tian asked in disbelief. A big shot actually submitted to another big shot. Unbelievable. Jingshan laughed lightly. Who told you that I submitted to Voidless Realm? This time the three of them were really dumbfounded. Are you joking? Suddenly, Jingshan stood up with a fanatical look on his face. It was as if he could do anything for the sake of this fanatical look. I serve the great Supreme Sovereign. I will use my life to serve the mighty Supreme Sovereign. I will become a servant at the feet of the Supreme Sovereign. What a grand ambition. Jingshan closed his eyes and shouted out these impassioned words. He seemed to be enjoying this moment very much. He was completely immersed in the service and was unable to extricate himself. The minds of the martial saint and the other two went blank. Was this big shot crazy? Why did another supreme being jump out? Were they going to put on a show? Family's clan leader, who is this supreme being you speak of? Murongji's expression was dark and he asked curiously, because he felt that it was very dangerous. Jingshan slowly opened his eyes and his gaze turned cold. Of course he is Empress's husband. Do you think a woman can come up with such a big plan? The three of them were shocked and immediately thought of that man. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He Tian gulped. How far has the family's clan leader gone? A wave of killing intent gushed forth from Jingshan as he slapped the air, sending He Tian flying. You deserve to die for being disrespectful to his honor. Jingshan shouted coldly. After He Tian fell to the ground, he never got up again. Jingshan had killed He Tian with a single slap. The martial sage and Murongji did not dare to move at all, because how could they possibly be a match for the giants? Killing them would be as easy as killing chickens. Jingshan took a deep breath. As a subordinate of the Supreme Overlord, I didn't even have the chance to properly pay my respects these past few days. I really deserve to die. Oh, that's not right. I'm not a subordinate of the Supreme Honorable yet, but I will strive to be one and serve the great Supreme Honorable well. Looking at Jingshan's passionate expression, Martial Saint and Murongji panicked. Jingshan is practically worshipping Jingshan to the extreme, and he is even worrying about being Jingshan's lackey. It seemed that this Jingshan was not even considered as that man's underling. Jingshan laughed. Do you think I'm crazy? That's because you don't know anything about Supreme Overlords. From the moment the 9 Demons Punishing Tower appeared, the entire cultivation world was already under the control of Supreme Overlords. Jingshan's words caused the two to tremble all over. If that's the case, that terrifying black robe is his subordinate. The battle between me and Voidless Realm was also planned by Supreme Overlord. Do you know why Ji family killed so many people? That was all planned by Supreme Overlord. Do you know who was the one who exterminated Ji family? Do you know the true meaning of the martial arts competition this time? Do you know why deities acted like that just now? That was all because of the great Supreme Overlord. These words rumbled within Martial Saint and Murongji's mind. It turns out that we have always been someone else's chess piece, and all of our reliance was in vain. Even a giant doesn't have the qualifications to be a lackey. Are we going to die as well? Murongji was in despair. The person that I relied on actually wants to kill me. This is the coldness that comes from the abyss. Jingshan laughed. To be able to die under the command of Supreme Overlord, the two of you have not lived your lives in vain. Martial Saint and Murongji didn't even have the slightest chance to resist, and both of them collapsed onto the wooden chairs. Of course, being able to complete the mission that his honor gave me, I feel honored as well. Rest assured, his honor only wants your lives. Nothing will happen to your families. In the future, leave the matters in the south to those juniors. They might be the next two of you. A trace of a vicious smile appeared on the corner of Jingshan's mouth. Without giving the two of them the slightest chance, Jingshan instantly killed them, then kept their ancient godly items. After finishing all these, Jingshan laughed. Guards. Family head. A Ying family guard shouted out respectfully. Deal with the corpses of the three of them in a few days. Just say that they were killed by that group of people. Make sure to shift the blame to them properly, understand? Yes. Ying Jingshan nodded his head, then picked up the teacup on the table and drank it in one gulp, then walked out of the tavern. All of the family heads in the south had fallen. This situation was pretty much the same as the north. Right now there was only Dongfeng family left in the north, and the family head was even Dongfeng Yu who was bullied. Following the end of the martial arts competition, a storm swept through the entire cultivation world once again. The family heads of the north rebelled and attempted to seize the throne. However, under the bravery of the Empress, those bad guys did not succeed, and the Empress even gave them a few chances. In order to maintain her own safety, the Empress killed all of the rebels, and only then did the rebellion was averted. All of the news was beneficial to Voidless Realm, and the Empress even shouted that those people deserved to die for actually wanting to seize the throne. Fortunately, the Empress was wise. If not, those trash would have succeeded. Everyone gave the Empress a thumbs up. However, those who were in the know all knew that the Empress was a blood Empress. Furthermore, during this process, the appearance of the deities was not mentioned at all. Right now, the public opinion was completely in Yi Hua's hands, and after going through the baptism this time, no one dared to be disrespectful towards the Blood Empress. Because this was the Blood Empress that killed without batting an eyelid, and if anyone were to touch her, that person would die without a burial ground. However, in just a few days the news of the death of all of the family heads of the South's family spread out, and once again the entire cultivation world was shaken. The murderer was pointed at the group of people who exterminated Tang family, and no one dared to suspect Voidless Realm anymore. Because no one dared to suspect Voidless Realm, even if they knew, they wouldn't dare to not say it out. This was the rule of iron and blood. No one dared to suspect Voidless Realm. At Wang family's house in Gaohai City, a few people were currently sitting at the table, and on the table there were at least 3 KFC family buckets. Burp. Wang Debao, who was drinking cola, couldn't help but burp. Burp. Qing Tian burped as well. Chapter 552. This fried chicken is so king delicious, and it tastes so good when paired with cola. Wife, don't you think so? Wang Debao said casually. Right now the whole team's harmony was pretty good and they were talking and laughing. Bai Cixin had a helpless look on her face. My husband is like a child sometimes. Be more serious. Brother Wang, this is called being straightforward. Qing Tian patted Wang Debao's shoulder. Wang Debao smiled and said, Wife, do you see that? Brother Qing understands me so well. Then you go with your brother Qing, don't look for me. Bai Cixin snorted. Brother Qing? Those who don't understand would think that you are called Brother Qing. Sister-in-law is angry, quickly go and coax her. Qing Tian laughed loudly, then picked up a napkin and wiped his hands. After getting rid of the family bucket on the table, everyone's expression became serious. Recently, our reputation has been rising and we have been made a lot of scapegoats. Feng Di said with a gloomy face. Feng Di snorted coldly. We are even made a scapegoat for the death of an aristocratic family's family head. This is really interesting. This is a complete reshuffle. Right now, the only aristocratic family left in the north and the south is Dongfeng family, and it's a woman who doesn't have any fighting strength. Bai Cixin snorted. She feels that this is too unfair. They are both women, so why is that Dongfeng Yuer the family head? Wang Debao sighed and said helplessly, right now Voidless Realm can cover the sky with one hand, what else can we do? What we need is a battle. Qing Tian laughed lightly and a folded napkin was placed in front of him. Everyone was confused. Voidless Realm, or gods in layman's terms, strength is everything. A new year is coming and we are going to become the saviors of the world. Giants. In the end, it's a title given by humans, can't we title ourselves? Voidless Realm has a reason to kill people, but will they kill a person who saved the cultivation world? Hearing Qing Tian's words, Bai Cixin finally understood. Since we have a reputation, we can also snatch things, so why not? I'm only interested in treasures, I'm not interested in anything else. Feng Di said lightly. However, what Bai Cixin needed was a reputation, so it wasn't a conflict. As for what Qing Tian wanted, no one knew. Qing Tian stood up and clapped his hands. Let's go out and welcome the dark year together. Wanda Plaza in Long'an City. Yihua was currently hugging onto Ali, and his two wives were snuggling up to him while looking at the countdown timer on the big screen. Dong Huangli's big eyes looked at the screen excitedly, and she couldn't help but start counting down with everyone. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom boom boom. Magnificent fireworks erupted from the skyscraper, mesmerizing everyone. Cheers suddenly rang out as the people in the square celebrated the arrival of the new year. Daddy, Mommy, Happy Chinese New Year. This was the first time that Dong Huangli was celebrating Chinese New Year together with her daddy and mommy. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were very happy as well. This kind of life was rather comfortable and they were able to stay away from those disputes. However, sometimes those disputes would come looking for you. There was nothing they could do about it. Daddy, Mommy, won't you kiss Ali? Dong Huangli said pitifully. This little fellow sure knows how to act cute. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji sat on one side of Baiji and kissed Baiji's chubby cheeks. This caused little Ali to be extremely happy. Where's daddy's? Yihua helplessly kissed onto his daughter's forehead, while Dong Huangli happily kissed onto her father's cheek. This truly is a warm moment. The family of four ate all kinds of snacks then walked back home. After Dong Huangli got over her excitement, she laid onto her father's embrace and slept soundly. On the spacious and empty street, there would be groups of youngsters walking past from time to time, bringing along a joyous atmosphere. Do we have any goals for this year? Yihua asked curiously while carrying on to his daughter. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji was no longer the blood queen, she was now a little woman. Eat and drink well, a family of 4, no, a family of 6. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji rubbed onto her stomach. Xianxia said, Yihua, your burden right now is very heavy. You need to earn more money to support your wife and children. I heard that working at the construction site is pretty good. You can earn a few hundred a day, it is enough for our family's expenses. Daddy, are you going to work at the construction site? Ali is going to help Daddy carry the bricks too. Dong Huangli said drowsily, then went back to sleep. Yihua shook his head helplessly. I will stay at home to take care of the children. The two of you can go out and work. Yihua, how can you be like this? Other people's husbands are the ones who support their wives. The two wives immediately started acting coquettishly. In actuality, Dong Huangli was just pretending to sleep. If not, Daddy and Mommy wouldn't be saying such mushy words. Ali felt goosebumps all over her body, especially when she heard Mommy acting coquettishly. The strict image of Mommy in her heart was completely toppled. From the looks of it, only Daddy is able to train Mommy to be obedient. Hee, outstanding men don't need to work. Yihua said proudly. Xianxia was already convinced by Yihua's twisted logic. Dong Huang Baiji still hadn't gotten used to it. Do you have the heart to let your pregnant wife go out and work? I am very at ease, who would dare to provoke you to? You. Hee. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji still didn't know of Yihua's personality. If he could stay at home, he definitely wouldn't go out. No matter if he was in Voidless Realm or here, it would be the same. However, this is also good, at least we won't have to worry about Yihua going out to flirt with other women and finding trouble for ourselves. It will be New Year's in February, right? Yihua said faintly. When I just arrived here, I completely didn't know what New Year's was for. However, since everyone is celebrating New Year's, I can't just not celebrate it, right? Thus, I spent the past few years with Wei Chong and Lai Gu, that dog. It was cold and cheerless, completely devoid of any atmosphere. After simply eating dinner, I would go back to my room to sleep. There was no meaning to celebrating New Year's at all. I didn't even watch the Spring Festival Gala. And when Yihua saw other people's families being together, he felt very gloomy. That's right, I am about to give birth. Xianxia rubbed onto her round tummy, and a motherly radiance could be seen on her pretty face. Dong Huang Baiji smiled. Then, let me congratulate you on becoming a mother first. Same to you, Xianxia said jokingly. I was discussing New Year's matters with you too. Why did you two start talking about children? Yihua said petulantly. He really disregarded my words. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji spread out their hands. Yihua is just like that. Alright, how do you want to celebrate New Year's? Xianxia asked curiously as she lightly leaned onto her husband's shoulder. Dong Huang Baiji, who was at the side, was the same as well. Yihua said faintly, in the past I have always been cold and cheerless. Therefore this year I plan to have a big reunion. I plan to call everyone over and celebrate New Year's with everyone. What do you think? Chapter 553. In the blink of an eye, it was February 4th. During this month, the cultivation world was quiet and nothing major happened. Perhaps it was because it was too quiet, it gave people the feeling that a storm was coming. But in the world of ordinary people, today was New Year's Eve. It was a good day for families to reunite. The whole of China was enveloped in a strong New Year atmosphere. And in Long'an City it was even more so. Red lanterns were hung all over the streets and alleys, and there were even couplets pasted on the doors. It was very festive. Everyone was welcoming the new year, hoping that there would be a good omen, hoping that in the new year the whole family would be safe and sound. In Scenic Garden, Death Mage and Sun Fong were currently preparing for the gathering. Tonight was the gathering that was arranged by his honor, and this gathering cannot be sloppy. As a little brother to be able to attend such an occasion, what kind of glory is that? Bone, haven't you changed your clothes? We're leaving. Sun Fong was wearing a red flowery cheongsam. Her curvaceous figure was extremely sexy. Coupled with her beautiful face, she was indeed worthy of being called the proud daughter of the South. However, Sun Fong's face was filled with anxiety. GGG, Royal Translation, these clothes are so hard to wear, can't I just wear a robe? Sun Fong seemed to understand. What do you look like wearing a black robe? Your wife said that tonight's theme is a festive one, so everyone has to wear red. Even LV Liang is wearing red. Don't waste time, hurry up. GGG, Royal Translation, human clothes are really hard to wear. Death Mage had no other choice and called Sun Fong over. When Sun Fong saw Death Mage's necktie, she immediately lost her composure. Are you trying to strangle yourself to death? Is this how you tie a tie? Death Mage didn't want to move anymore and spread out his hands. His meaning was very clear, help me. Sun Fong shook her head, then carefully helped Death Mage to tie his necktie. Who asked me to like this stupid skeleton? Yihua picked up the red suit and put it on the Death Mage. Not to mention the Death Mage really looked a bit handsome. A skull paired with a red suit, it looked a bit interesting. As for Sun Fong, she stood at the side and looked at the two people in the mirror. A warm expression appeared on her face and she felt that they were quite compatible. In Wei Chang's room the same scene was happening. Lil Tang, check if my tie is crooked. Wei Chang stretched his neck and carefully observed his appearance. The current Wei Chang paid great attention to this aspect. Tang Wei was wearing a red long dress, and within her innocence, there was a hint of sexiness. Wei Chang was also a man, and even though he hugged this kind of woman every day, he did not make a move. As for Tang Wei, she was already numb to it and no longer held any hope. Let's take a look. Tang Wei said with a light smile. When Wei Chang turned around, Tang Wei stretched out her hand and smoothed her hair. My Uncle Wei is so handsome. I mustn't steal his honor's limelight. It's better for me to keep a low profile. Tang Wei immediately let out a light laugh. Uncle Wei even knows how to joke now. Uncle Wei, stop being so narcissistic, let's hurry up and go. Everyone might have already arrived. Tang Wei urged. We can't be late, don't let his honor scold us during the new year. Wei Chang checked his attire once more. After he felt relieved, he went downstairs with Tang Wei. When he got downstairs, he exclaimed, Lil Tang, is the red packet ready? Don't worry, everything is ready. Tang Wei felt that Uncle Wei was getting old and forgetful. Wei Chang nodded his head. I reckon that we will be able to get back the money we spent on the red packet. His honor will definitely give us a big red packet. Alright, stop thinking about it, let's hurry up and go. Tang Wei smiled helplessly. We are all so strong, yet we are still thinking about whether or not we will be able to get back the money we spent on the red packet. On the other side, Lai Gu was also urging them. You all are more or less done, what are you all going to dress up like? Are you all going to dress up like his honor's wife? Lai Gu had long been dressed in a red suit, and he looked at the three women helplessly. Lai Gu was still wearing a delicate and beautiful lipstick as he said casually, We are no match for his honor's wife, but we cannot lose face for his honor. No matter what, you are still his honor's subordinate. You women just like to compare yourselves, what's there to compare yourselves with? Jinjin, wear that huge ring that I gave you last time. Wenxia, wear that huge diamond necklace as well. Lai Gu also joined in the dressing up of the three women, seemingly wanting to hang the things that he was most proud of on the three women. The three celebrities shook their heads helplessly. Men. Remember to bring red packets. Luckily my family has a lot of people. His honor is going to pack 4 red packets for us at once, haha. Lai Gu was very pleased with himself. His honor is very good at saving money. Wanting his honor's money is equivalent to wanting his honor's life. Lai Gu was still smiling. Be careful, his honor might say that he is going to stew you again. That won't happen, it has already been over 1,000 years, isn't it still fine? Lai Gu understood his honor very well. Although his honor has a sharp tongue, his heart is like tofu. Of course, this was only towards his own people. The 3 women smiled but did not say anything. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yi Hong sat on the bed and blankly looked at his wife who was putting on makeup. He was very puzzled. Wife, you are already so beautiful, why are you still putting on makeup? Yi Hong asked curiously. Zhou Xian rolled her eyes at her husband. You don't even understand this. Are you trying to gain face for yourself, idiot? But I don't want this. Yi Hong was a little embarrassed. What do you mean don't want? My wife is beautiful, so I have to show off, do you understand? Zhou Xian was also indirectly praising herself. Yi Hong let out a long sigh. Sigh, women. Zhou Xian glared at Zhou Xian, causing the latter to immediately cower. Are the red packets prepared? Zhou Xian asked lightly. They are all prepared. Zhou Xian nodded her head. Big brother has moved out and our family's burden has increased again. I hope that his honor will give us a big red packet this time. His honor will definitely give us a big red packet. Yi Hong was filled with confidence. His honor is such a magnanimous person, how could he not give us a red packet? Right now, LV Shu had already moved out of the villa and was no longer the third wheel. Other than going to work at night, LV Shu would be lying on the big bed of the 2 sisters every day, enjoying the fortune that a man should have. LV Shu leaned against the wall and looked at the 2 sisters' faces that were exactly the same. She truly felt that she had hit the jackpot. His honor is such a good person, he didn't betroth Zhou Xian to me. I really can't afford to offend a shrew like her. Our family's blood race sisters are still the best. Furthermore, blood race's specialty is sucking. No matter if it is sucking blood or other things, being able to suck blood or suck other things would make you feel extremely happy. Are you 2 going to a beauty contest? LV Shu asked curiously. Serena drew her eyebrows and said lightly, your little brother's wife is so beautiful, we can't lose face for you. Chapter 554. What a little vixen. LV Liang lifted her sister's chin and greedily sucked on it. Her sister smiled and continued to draw her eyebrows. LV Liang was also a winner in life. However, as one of the 7 deadly sins, Zhu Tian was a little dissatisfied and absent-minded. Zhu Tian, do you think we should dress like this? Dongfang Yuan and Guan Yanxin walked in front of Zhu Tian, wanting to hear his opinion. Today, Zhu Tian had also taken off his white suit and wore a red one. He sat on a mahogany chair and drank tea as if he did not hear anything. Dongfang Yuan whispered, Zhu Tian? What's wrong? Zhu Tian returned to his senses and exclaimed. This kind of expression was very rare in the eyes of the 2 women. Dongfang Yuan was a lot better now. He seemed to have walked out of the shadow. This was also thanks to Zhu Tian comforting her and not despising her. At that time, Dongfang Yuan had run away from home several times, feeling that she was not worthy of Zhu Tian and was not worthy of his care. Zhu Tian forcefully found Dongfang Yuan and forcefully locked her in the house. Fortunately, Dongfang Yuan was obedient in the end, which made Zhu Tian feel a lot more at ease. However, the 2 women also discovered that Zhu Tian was not normal. It seemed that their man had indeed fallen in love with that woman. Although they knew, they did not say anything. In any case, they would support Zhu Tian unconditionally. Very good. Zhu Tian looked at the 2 women and nodded. He would see Brett again soon. His mood was very complicated. Seeing Zhu Tian like this, Dongfang Yuan and Guan Yanxin were unhappy. If they could make Zhu Tian happy again, they would do anything. However, they were powerless. Guan Yanxin pulled Dongfang Yuan. He liked you the most. Go and say a few words. Dongfang Yuan walked in front of Zhu Tian and slowly squatted down. She held Zhu Tian's slender hand. Zhu Tian, if you like it, be bolder. This was the first time Dongfang Yuan expressed her opinion. As an ordinary woman, she also needed courage. Zhu Tian gently held Dongfang Yuan's slender hand and pulled her into his embrace. Thank you. Zhu Tian, as long as you are good, we are willing to do anything. Dongfang Yuan said softly. Zhu Xian was very gratified. He also hugged Guan Yanxin in his embrace. Don't say anything tonight. Let's celebrate the new year. The two girls nodded sweetly. On the second floor of Leisure Bar in Long'an City. Zizi, what do you think of my clothes? Qin Yutong turned around then asked happily. Yi Zizi was wearing a bright red princess dress and a big red round hat on her head. Her two ponytails fluttered behind her head. She looked adorable and noble at the same time, which was quite surprising. And when Yi Zizi looked at Qin Yutong's backless attire, she pouted her mouth. Everyone here is a married man, who are you going to seduce? Yi Zizi's words were like 10,000 critical strikes, and Qin Yutong glared at Yi Zizi fiercely. Can't I seduce my brother-in-law? Your sister will beat the sh*t out of you. Yi Zizi's words could infuriate people to death now. Her eloquence had improved. Qin Yutong was in despair and she stomped her feet on the ground. I'll change. That's right. What a waste of such a good figure, sigh. Yi Zizi. Are you looking for a fight? It's not like you can win against me. Yi Zizi pouted her mouth and had a look of, you can't win against me no matter what. Qin Yutong felt that she was going to go crazy. This Yi Zizi has changed too much recently. Every single sentence she says is very sharp. At this moment Yi Hua suddenly pushed open the door. Wearing a custom-made red suit, he was incomparably handsome. Just now he heard the noise inside, so he came to take a look. What's wrong? Yi Hua asked indifferently. Qin Yutong pouted her small mouth, then pounced onto Yi Hua's embrace. Brother-in-law Zizi is bullying me. Yi Zizi shook her head. Women. Recently Yi Hua had often praised Yi Zizi, but right now he had no choice but to say it. Zizi Yutong is still young, don't bully her. Still young? How am I? Qin Yutong small. Yi Zizi laughed to the point of rolling on the bed. Brother-in-law, you are bullying me too. I'm not going to play with you guys anymore. I'm going to look for my big sister. Qin Yutong snorted and walked out of the room. Yi Hua laughed lightly then said to Yi Zizi, stop laughing, everyone is more or less here. I got it. Yi Hua walked down the stairs and looked at everyone in the hall. A lot of emotions welled up in his heart. My subordinates have all found their own homes, and every single one of those women are incomparably beautiful. To say that they are my subordinates' wives is also something that gives me a lot of face. However, in how many years has it been? When has there ever been such an atmosphere? In the past, if I wasn't in the middle of a massacre, I would be preparing to massacre. There was no laughter, only an endless amount of blood. But look at the current situation. My subordinates are all laughing and chatting happily. Perhaps in a few more years children will be born in groups. At that time I, the Supreme Overlord, will be leading the entire team to battle on the battlefield. How great of a moment would that be? Yi Hua's gaze looked towards Xianxia. My stomach is already very big and recently I have to go to the hospital for a checkup. As for the Empress, she had just gotten pregnant and she appeared to be very careful. Today my daughter was also wearing a red skirt. While shuttling through the crowd, she was greeting people politely and she appeared to be very sensible. Just like last time, Brett was hiding in a dark corner. Her red robe didn't give her a festive feeling, and instead, as she drank cup after cup of wine, she appeared to be incomparably miserable. Looking at Brett's current appearance, everyone became anxious in their hearts. I really hope that Zhu Xian can properly console Brett. Brett, who has a fiery temper and stubbornness, isn't someone who can be appeased just by coaxing. Looking at Brett's current appearance, Zhu Xian didn't dare to go up and provoke Brett even more. As for today's head chef, he was the blood demon who was going to bring disaster to the world. It must be said, a blood demon who doesn't have any strength is willing to do anything, and furthermore he learns everything very quickly. Right now he is even a head chef in Leisure Bar, and even Yi Hua is praising him non-stop. This brat is capable. He isn't capable of bringing disaster to the world, but he is very good at doing other things. However, speaking of which, I should be receiving quite a lot of red packets tonight, right? It is everyone's duty to be filial to their boss. There are also Xianxia, Donghuang Baiji and Ali. All of them have to give out red packets, and red packets are also not a small amount of income. I, the Supreme Overlord, should keep the red packet money so as to prevent myself from using it recklessly. This woman just loves to spend money recklessly. To buy a bag that is worth a few 100,000, she is truly a prodigal. The table that was set up today was that kind of big round table, and it wasn't like the lobster banquet that was set up last time. There were a total of 2 tables, and the television on the bar counter was currently locked onto the Spring Festival Gala, which was about to begin. Chapter 555. It was just that it was a bit comical to let this group of women in gowns run errands and serve dishes. Other than Dongfang Yuer, they all had strength. However, when Dongfang Yuger saw Brett, she was still a little afraid. On the other hand, LV Liang was very happy today. As expected, my blood clan sisters are very powerful, and they are also one of a kind in the entire team. Even big brother Lai Gu revealed out an envious gaze. Today Zishan was the same as well. She, who possessed the temperament of a deity, added a different color to her appearance. Comparatively speaking, Wei Chong, Lai Gu and Zhu Tian's women were slightly lacking. However, the three of them were the capable subordinates of a supreme overlord, and they had an advantage in terms of status. Moreover, Absolute Heaven's Yu is also a special existence. As for Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji, there was no need to talk about them. No matter if it was their temperament, appearance or status, they were all unique. As the dishes were served one by one, the hall was filled with a fragrant aroma. Chicken, fish and all kinds of meat were served. Today Blood Demon was wearing a red robe, and there was even a red scarf tied around his waist. After wiping his hands, Blood Demon said respectfully, "Your Honor, all the dishes have been served." Yi Hua nodded his head. The Blood Demon bowed and prepared to retreat. "What are you doing?" Yi Hua took a look and asked faintly. "Your Honor, I'll just go to the back and eat something." The words of the Blood Demon were simply so pitiful. Yi Hua said lightly, "No need, sit down together." Blood Demon had a startled look on his face, then immediately became overjoyed. "Does this mean that I have received His Honor's approval?" The excited Blood Demon immediately kneeled onto the ground. "Thank you, Your Honor. If it wasn't for Your Honor, I, Blood Demon, would have already died." After saying that, Blood Devil felt that something was wrong. Pa, what are you talking about during the New Year?" Qing Yutong said in a low voice. This was too inauspicious. Blood Demon immediately had a bad feeling. "Your Honor, please forgive me." "Alright, I don't believe this." "Thank you, Your Honor." Blood Demon let out a breath of relief and sat at the table beside Blood Demon. Everyone waited for Yi Hua's opening speech and none of them moved their chopsticks. Meanwhile, Yi Hua picked up his wine glass and stood up. Today is Chinese New Year's Eve, and it isn't easy for everyone to be able to sit together and eat together. The few people from the 7 deadly sins knew what His Honor meant by, not easy. That's right, it really wasn't easy to walk all the way here. Tonight there's no hierarchy. Let's celebrate the new year together. You've worked hard. After Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji, who were sitting beside Yi Hua, heard what Yi Hua said, a smile appeared on Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's faces. When the subordinates heard what His Honor said, they immediately went into a daze. "Your Honor, is there really no difference in ranks?" Lai Gu asked. "From the looks of it, Lai Gu has a bold idea." Yi Hua said indifferently, "I, the Supreme Overlord, will naturally keep my words." "They won't punish us?" Lai Gu had to ask clearly, if not he would definitely suffer a loss. Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. "What does this Lai Gu mean?" "That's right." Lai Gu wiped his hands, then immediately stretched out his hands. "What are you planning to do?" Yi Hua asked. "Your Honor, red packet." Lai Gu said excitedly. Not only was Lai Gu excited, all of His Honor's subordinates were also waiting for His Honor to give them red packets. Meanwhile, the corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. "To actually ask me, the Supreme Overlord, to send red packets to you, your guts are truly getting bigger and bigger. It's one thing that you don't want to give out red envelopes, but you still want me to do it." If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have said those words and let them seize the opportunity. Seeing that His Honor's expression immediately sunk, Lai Gu had already stopped what he was doing, and even said that he wouldn't lose his temper. It seems like he was just being polite. "I naturally know that you all have worked hard, but I, the Supreme Overlord, have worked even harder. Let me send a red packet first." Yi Hua said gravely, seemingly as if he was talking about a very serious matter. "Ali wants a red packet too." Dong Huangli stood on the stool and shouted out. "In the past I only got one red packet, but tonight I will definitely get a bunch of red packets. I'm so happy, New Year is so good." With little His Honor supporting him, Lai Gu immediately stood up, then clapped his hands and shouted out, "Your Honor, send red packets. Your Honor, send red packets." Not to mention Lai Gu was quite good at setting the tempo. Everyone stood up and clapped their hands, then shouted out his honor to send red packets rhythmically. This caused Yi Hua to be angered to death. These subordinates are truly crazy to actually even tease me. Yi Hua, I want a red packet too. Also, our son wants a red packet too. Xianxia also stretched out her hands. Donghuang Baiji was unwilling to fall behind. Me too, our son wants a red packet too. Daddy, send red packets, Donghuang Li began shouting out. This time there was finally no one who shouted out along with Ali. Everyone still remembered the lobster feast that time. What else could Yi Hua do? He could only send red packets. I didn't prepare any red packets either. How about this? I will create a WeChat group and send 100 red packets with 200 RMB each. You all can go ahead and snatch the red packets. Yi Hua said generously as if he was going to give out a lot of red packets. However, when everyone heard that his honor was going to send red packets, they were all very happy. It doesn't matter how many red packets there are, what's important is that the red packets are being sent by his honor. In this world, how many people are able to receive a red packet from his honor? Daddy, Ali doesn't have a phone. Ali said pitifully. Daddy will give you a big red packet tonight. Yi Hua said in a low voice. Hearing what Yi Hua said, Donghuang Li immediately laughed out. Yi Hua patted onto Xianxia's thigh. The meaning behind his words was very clear. Hurry up and transfer the money to me, I don't have any money. What else could Xianxia do? Yi Hua's pretentious personality will never change. To say such words when you don't have any money, it is so hard to be Yi Hua's wife. Xianxia secretly transferred 20,000 RMB to Yi Hua's thigh. It really wasn't much at all. Yi Hua shouted out in his heart, stingy, not giving me any pocket money at all. After creating a WeChat group, Yi Hua pulled everyone into the group. After that, Yi Hua could see his subordinates spamming the group with all kinds of emoji packs, and some of them even used my own emoji packs. Damn it, who gave you all the courage? Yang Jingru. Before the meal even started, the red packets were already in full swing. Blood Demon's luck was pretty good. Every red packet was worth tens of red packets. At the very least, he managed to snatch a few thousand red packets. Lai Gu, this unlucky fellow, sometimes didn't even manage to snatch a red packet, and he would always complain that his phone's signal was poor. Alright, the red packets have been sent out, let's eat. Yi Hua shook his head. I gave out another red packet. In the future I won't say something like this anymore. All of you are not afraid of me anymore. Aren't you afraid that I, the Supreme Overlord, will settle the score with you in the future? Right now, the subordinates understood his honor, and they knew that his honor wouldn't take the red packet seriously. While eating the reunion meal and watching the Spring Festival Gala, this was the first time Yi Hua experienced the feeling of celebrating the new year. I have to continue this tradition. The men competed with each other to drink alcohol. After all, they had agreed not to cheat and they drank to an earth-shattering level. As a big shot, Yi Hua was persuaded to drink quite a bit of alcohol. This made Yi Hua feel that they are truly too arrogant to actually dare to persuade me to drink alcohol. That sentence about the relationship between a superior and a subordinate, I really can't help it. Chapter 556. Meanwhile, the women began playing mahjong. There were more than 2 tables left. Donghuang Li and Yi Zizi went upstairs to play games. It's still better to not participate in the world of adults. Hey, you guys drink less. Donghuang Baiji touched herself and shouted towards the men. Lai Gu grinned. Your honor's wife, when you drink you have to drink until you talk nonsense, and you have to drink until the entire universe is yours. If you can't do these 2 things, what's the point of drinking? Your honor, don't you agree? Don't care about that woman, drink. Donghuang Baiji snorted. I will give you face now, but when we go back, just wait and see how I will take care of you. Your honor is mighty. Yi Hong immediately shouted out. Look at me, I don't even dare to shout at my wife like this. Zishan's doom gaze instantly arrived, and Yi Hong didn't dare to not say anything. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Hong's shoulder. Men. Fear of their wives doesn't exist. Yes, your honor is right. Yi Hong hurriedly agreed. However, I don't dare to do that, I will be abused by Zishan. Zishan, who was playing mahjong, snorted. It's useless even if your honor supports you. Yi Hua began his long-winded speech, instilling the concept of men being supreme into his subordinates. The Yi Hua who was drunk was indeed different, he even started to brag. What, I, the Supreme Overlord, what kind of woman am I unable to find? Yi Hua completely didn't know what Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's expressions were. When the other women heard what his honor said, they felt so helpless. This is simply teaching my husband the wrong things. In the future, I can't let my husband play with his honor anymore. He will lead me astray. Let's go to the nightclub. Someone shouted out, and the woman who was playing mahjong immediately used doom gaze. Who said that just now? Come out. This is too outrageous. Yihong, is it you? Yihua shouted out coldly. Yihua was acting very well. Seeing that there was a scapegoat, Lai Gu laughed and said, Yihong, I am going to criticize you. Zishan is so good, yet you still want to go to a nightclub. Are you worthy of Zishan? At this moment, Lv Liang also said, That's right, although I know that you are very envious that Big Brother has 2 wives, but, don't think about having 2. Yihong felt as if he was struck by lightning. What happened? Why don't I have any recollection of it? My wife's gaze seems a bit off. Yihua paused for a moment. Yihong, you should reflect on yourself. Let us continue drinking. Your honor is mighty. His honor is mighty. His honor is mighty. Tonight Yihua was indeed floating. There was no helping it, he was truly too happy. At 10 o'clock the men collapsed on the sofa. This feeling of dizziness was very good. After Hua finished they Yi and the night they and Yi and Yi and the Hua and Hua. In any case, Donghuang Baiji wanted to kill Donghuang Baiji in an open and above-board manner, and those people who were standing at the side would be clapping their hands and cheering for Donghuang Baiji. This was exactly the feeling that Donghuang Baiji wanted. This kind of plan wasn't something that could be completed in a short amount of time. Therefore Yihua wasn't in a hurry. He was going to wait for Donghuang Baiji to give birth to this child before making any further plans. As they chatted, it was almost midnight. Yihua stood up and said, Ladies, are you still going to fight? Donghuang Baiji snorted. Aren't the 2 of you going out for a massage? Why aren't you going? Madam, don't blame his honor, men are all like this when they drink. Wei Chong immediately tried to smooth things over. This Madame Donghuang is someone that everyone had painstakingly helped his honor to bring back. Don't quarrel with each other during the new year, that would be very inauspicious. Right now Yihua's temper was slightly better. If it was in the past he would definitely have scolded Yihua. Yihua was really not giving Yihua any face at all. Alright, let's call it a day after this round. Yihua said faintly. It was going to be 12 o'clock soon. However, Yihua neglected the motivation of the women to play mahjong, as they were simply unable to stop playing mahjong. Thus Yihua decided to just let them do whatever they wanted. After all, New Year's is a happy occasion. Oh, it's going to be 12 o'clock soon. Ali is coming down to receive a red packet. Donghuang Li and Yi Zizi rushed down from upstairs. Daddy, I smell of alcohol all over my body. I am going to look for mommy to carry me. Yihua was helpless. The smell of alcohol all over my body is really not good to smell at all. Along with the arrival of 12 o'clock, the new year officially began. Little Your Honor, do you want a red packet? Ali wants it. Little Your Honor, I have a red packet here too. Ali wants it too. Looking at his daughter's joyous expression, Yihua felt very comfortable in his heart. Meanwhile, the women finally stopped playing mahjong. As the wives of his honor, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji naturally had to give out red packets. Towards a custom like this, Yihua had to do as the Romans do. However, what's the difference in giving out red packets here and there? It can only be considered as a good omen. Rip. Xianxia suddenly wrinkled her brows and held onto her stomach. Zishan, who was at the side, hurriedly held onto Xianxia, and at this moment Xianxia's water suddenly broke. Your Honor, your wife is going to give birth. Zishan cried out in surprise. Yihua was currently discussing something with Zhu Tian, and hearing Zishan's shout, he hurriedly ran over and asked excitedly, What happened? Is she going to give birth? And her water broke. Zishan was also very happy. It has just been Chinese New Year and I have already welcomed a new life. This is a good sign. Xianxia grabbed onto Yihua's sleeve. Yihua, it hurts. Qing Yutong said gravely, Quickly carry her upstairs and boil some hot water. You know how to deliver a baby? Yihua asked curiously. I learned it on television. Zishan said tenderly, Your Honor, I know a bit about it. Yihua nodded his head. Hurry up and go then, be careful. Yes. The women walked back and forth in the bedroom, while a group of men waited outside the bedroom. From time to time, Xianxia's painful wails could be heard. It has already been half an hour. Why isn't the baby born yet? Yihua was a bit vexed. This was the first time he had encountered something like this, so of course he would be anxious. He was afraid that something bad would happen to Xianxia and the baby. Zhou Xian said respectfully, "Your Honor, don't be anxious, humans take a bit longer to give birth." Yi Hua squinted his eyes and continued smoking one cigarette after another. "Daddy, don't be anxious, Mommy Qing and little brother will be fine." Dong Huangli pulled onto her father's pants and consoled. Yi Hua squeezed out a trace of a smile, then rubbed onto his daughter's head. In an instant it was 3 a.m. in the morning. Xianxia's screams did not stop coming from the bedroom at all, and Yi Hua felt like killing someone just by listening to the screams. Chapter 557. Suddenly, Xianxia's painful howls stopped, and this caused Yi Hua's gaze to become serious. She gave birth. The door of the bedroom suddenly opened and Qing Yutong walked out with a grave expression. "Brother-in-law. What's wrong? Has your big sister given birth?" Yi Hua asked excitedly. "I didn't expect that there would still be something that would be able to make me nervous to such an extent. My big sister she." While speaking, Qing Yutong's eyes turned red. Looking at Qing Yutong's appearance, Yi Hua immediately rushed into the bedroom, only to see that all of the women that were present were currently unceasingly transferring spiritual energy to Xianxia, and Xianxia was still lying on the bed with a big belly and was currently being enveloped by a dense spiritual energy. "What's going on?" Yi Hua shouted out, and red light could be seen flickering within his eyes. Wei Chong and the others felt that his honor's condition was very unstable, so they hurriedly rushed into the room. When they saw that his honor's wife was lying on the bed and spiritual energy was being transferred to his honor's wife, all of them were a bit surprised. How did giving birth to a child end up like this? This shouldn't be happening. Dong Huang Baiji's expression was especially grave as she said gravely, "Yahua, the child is absorbing Xianxia's spiritual energy." Yi Hua went into a daze. "Why is it like this?" Yi Hua questioned angrily. "Why would a good child absorb his mother's spiritual energy?" Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice, "Initially I thought that it was only a legend, but who would have thought that it was actually true? When the child of the Nuo clan is born, the child will absorb all of the spiritual energy in the mother's body, and then the child will become the next Nuo and the mother will quickly age. And then?" Dong Huang Baiji didn't finish her sentence. The price that the Nuo clan had to pay for giving birth was a life for a life. It was just that they didn't expect it to be true and they didn't take it to heart. They were too careless. However, Yi Hua had also underestimated the child's enormous bloodline power. Not only does the child possess Yi Hua's bloodline, the child also possesses mother's bloodline. When the two of them are added together, the amount of spiritual energy that the child can absorb will be even more enormous. Therefore, right now I have to hurriedly transfer spiritual energy to Xianxia. If not, the spiritual energy will be absorbed by the child. Of course, this was not the child's original intention. That was the child's bloodline. When the child saw his mother in so much pain, he wanted to bear the pain for his mother, but his body could not help but want to suck. Yi Hua took a deep breath, and a burst of golden light immediately emitted out from both of his hands. A huge amount of spiritual pressure was instantly emitted out, and the spiritual pressure immediately flowed into Xianxia's body. With a flash of golden light, Xianxia's furrowed brows gradually relaxed. But the golden radiance on Xianxia's body was quickly disappearing, and Xianxia wrinkled her brows once again. Everyone was shocked. This speed of absorption has already reached a terrifying degree. Even his honor's technique is being absorbed. Wei Chong and the others who were standing at the back were in disbelief. Just what kind of child is the little honor in your wife's stomach? This is too terrifying. Yi Hua was unwilling to give up. Immediately, a golden light condensed on his left hand, while his right hand emitted out green and blue colors that were intersecting with each other. However, Yi Hua's gaze tensed up, and he actually fused the golden light into the ball of strange colors that was on his right hand. Immediately, 3 different colors emerged from the ball of strange colors, and everyone could immediately feel a ferocious spiritual energy being emitted out from the ball of strange colors. Wei Chong immediately isolated the inside of the room from the outside. Yi Hua pushed the strange thing in his hand towards Xianxia's body. Pooh! 3 different colors covered Xianxia's delicate body like a cloud of smoke. Xianxia's expression gradually smoothed out as if she had gotten some relief. However, Wei Chong and the others who were at the back were very surprised. Could it be that his honor is unable to solve the problem? He could only ease the situation. Yi Hua's gaze was like a torch as he stared fixedly at Xianxia, who was on the bed, and the child in her stomach. How did this happen? The fusion of Nua's bloodline and my bloodline is actually this terrifying. There is actually no way to control it, and the only thing I can do is to slow down the speed of it being absorbed. In this world there are actually things that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to do. This kind of effect was already out of Yi Hua's control. The fusion of the two bloodlines was very terrifying. Fortunately, Donghuang bloodline wasn't so tyrannical that it had to absorb the mother's spiritual energy in order to obtain the inheritance. Not right. There are still a lot of medicinal pellets in my storage ring. Yi Hua. Xianxia, who was on the bed, shouted out weakly. Her slender hand slowly raised up, and her pair of beautiful eyes looked at the man who was in a panic. This was the first time that Xianxia saw Yi Hua being in such a panic. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched, seemingly wanting to laugh and properly console Xianxia. However, he was unable to laugh at all. It's fine, eat the medicine, it will be fine very soon. Yi Hua took out the God Essence pill, Life Continuing pill, 9 Firmaments, Heaven Nourishing Dew, and so on. However, these things could only serve to slow down the speed of it and were unable to solve the problem. After Xianxia obediently ate the medicine, she felt much more comfortable. Yi Hua, no matter what, you have to protect our child, do you understand? I only have this one request. Right now, Xianxia looked very weak. Her pair of beautiful eyes had lost their former color, and even more so, her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with firm pleading. Just now, when Yi Hua came in, Xianxia's face was as white as a piece of paper. Yi Hua had been baptized by blood for so many years, and he had never been afraid before. Right now he was really afraid that he would lose Xianxia. Yi Hua looked at Xianxia's big belly and remained silent. Right now I can only protect one, it's either big or small. Looking at her husband's hesitant gaze, Xianxia's heart ached. In actuality, she knew what the situation was, but for the sake of the child, Xianxia was willing to make a sacrifice. Which mother in this world doesn't love their child? Yi Hua, I have always been unwilling to listen to you, then let me not listen to you for the last time, all right? Yi Hua held onto Xianxia's hand that had lost its color and said gravely, don't say any more, I will have a way. You are only allowed to listen to me for the rest of your life. I will be in charge of your matters. This little bastard, if he comes out, I will definitely beat him to death. Yi Hua, that is our child, you can't beat him. Xianxia smiled weakly, and the oppressive atmosphere in the room lessened a bit. Suddenly, the colorful mist that was revolving around Xianxia was once again absorbed by the little bastard. And the speed at which the little bastard was absorbing the colorful mist was so fast that it left one speechless. Yi Hua, is there any other way? This can't go on. Donghuang Baiji shouted out anxiously. The little bastard's absorption speed is too fast. This little bastard is too scary. Donghuang Li, who was standing at the side, was crying. She slowly walked to the side of the bed and said lightly, little brother, don't absorb Mommy Qing's mist anymore. If you want to absorb, then absorb big sister's mist. Donghuang Li's words caused the little fellow to slightly calm down, and the little bastard's absorption speed slowed down a bit. Yi Hua scratched onto his hair, appearing to be very irritated. Your Honor, I have an idea. Zhu Tian suddenly stood out and said. Speak. Zhu Tian said gravely, Your Honor, do you still remember Sovereign Fa Lian? Yi Hua's gaze became focused as he shouted out, Speak clearly. Chapter 558. Because back then Paragon Fa Lian was one of the people who organized that battle. In Yi Hua's heart he didn't want Paragon Fa Lian to die so easily. However, now that Xianxia has encountered such a matter, I have to make a trip over. Yi Hua took out a scepter from his storage ring. This was the spacetime scepter. As the name suggested, it was a weapon that could control time. Although it wasn't anything good, it was very useful right now. Yi Hua swung his hand, and the space scepter floated above Xianxia's body. Immediately, the scepter emitted a faint blue radiance, which enveloped Xianxia within it. Xianxia's pained expression stopped. This wasn't relief, it was the scepter that stopped the thing in the bed. However, this pause was not permanent. The space-time scepter was gradually withering away. It seemed like the space-time scepter was a weapon that had a life of its own. This was also the reason why Yi Hua had kept it by his side all this while. As expected, it was still put to use. You all stay here and guard this place properly. If anyone gets close to this place, kill them without mercy. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. The subordinates immediately bowed and shouted, We will obey his honor's command. Yi Hua's figure disappeared from the room. Yi Hua went to get the things and settle the accounts by himself. The women stopped transferring their spiritual energy to Donghuang Baizhi, and Donghuang Baizhi asked curiously, "Who is this sovereign Fa Lian?" Wei Chong heaved a sigh of relief and said in a low voice, "He is a person of virtue and prestige. Good and evil are decided by him." The people of the 7 deadly sins all knew the situation, but those who didn't were very puzzled. Wouldn't it be too dangerous for Yi Hua to go alone? Donghuang Baizhi asked worriedly. Brett shook his head. No, it's Sovereign Feilane who is too lucky. The few women didn't understand what Brett meant, but Donghuang Baizhi felt that Yi Hua and Sovereign Feilane had some sort of relationship. From Brett's words, Yi Hua didn't plan to let Sovereign Feilane off, but because of Qingye's matter, Yi Hua's plan was spoiled. That was why it was said that Sovereign Feilane was lucky, not dying under the disdain of the people of the world. Yuantian Peak. This was a world of nothingness, but in this nothingness there stood a huge mountain. The size of the mountain was astonishing, as if it covered the entire world of nothingness. At the foot of the mountain one had to zoom in a few hundred times to see a tiny figure. The stream was like a silver thread. If one were to take a closer look, it would be a huge silver waterfall. A person standing beside it would seem very small. There were people on every level of the mountain, but they seemed so insignificant. Even a small stone had millions of lives and countless sections. And at the top of the mountain lived the peak master of the Yuantian Peak, Sovereign Fa Lian. This world of nothingness was created by him, and every sovereign had this kind of strength. However, back then Hong Tai was still a relatively weak sovereign, and did not have the ability to create such a world of nothingness. At the top of the mountain, there were no luxurious palaces or splendid residences. There were only ordinary wooden courtyards surrounded by wooden fences. Although it didn't look fancy, the people who squatted in the toilet at the top of Yuantian Peak were still very impressive. On the edge of the cliff at the edge of the mountain, an old man sat among the clouds. In front of him was an ordinary zither, and on his right was a cup of steaming hot tea. This old man was Paragon Fa Lian. His white silver hair hung down naturally, and although his face was wrinkled, he looked very intimidating, and no one dared to look straight at that face. Compared to that face that was filled with wrinkles, Paragon Fa Lian's hands were incomparably delicate, just like a woman's hands. Especially when he was playing the zither, his hands carried traces of charm. The mountain reverberated with the clear and melodious sound of the zither. The sound of the zither was like a gift from the heavens, bringing hope to the people below the mountain. This was Paragon Fa Lian's strength. While playing the zither, he was able to hear the joyful shouts of the people as well as the whispers of service. 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of Paragon Fa Lian, knelt down respectfully, kowtowed and shouted, "Teacher! You're too little fool, did you comprehend any great Tao in this trip to spiritual capital?" Paragon Fa Lian stopped playing the zither and slightly opened his eyes. Immediately, a ray of light shot out from his eyes and he didn't dare to look at them at all. And this year Tu and Little Fool were Paragon Fa Lian's disciples, the newly popularized overlords. What Yi Hua didn't know was that during the 5 years that he disappeared, another batch of newbies had advanced to the ranks of overlords. And this spiritual capital was a place that all of the deities yearned to go to. Heaven's Mansion, that kind of place could only be considered as a small place, it couldn't be brought to the stage. Spiritual capital was the place where the deities gathered, that was the highest point of authority, that was the place that countless people yearned to go to. Teacher, disciple has benefited greatly. The 2-year Tu shouted out respectfully. Paragon Fa Lian naturally disdained that kind of place. It is completely meaningless to go to that kind of place. After reaching this kind of realm, what one should be thinking about is how to go to the next level. Tell teacher about the interesting things that happened in spiritual capital. It has been a long time since I listened to them. Paragon Fa Lian picked up the teacup at the side and lightly blew on it. A delightful fragrance drifted out, and Paragon Fa Lian lightly leaned against the teacup. However, there was nothing behind him. Year Tu and Little Fool outside were 2 saints' titles, but in here they were just Year Tu and Little Fool, that's all. Furthermore, the 2 of them looked like middle-aged men, and it was very strange for them to be addressed like this. However, the 2 of them didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. After all, the person in front of them was their teacher, the powerful Paragon Fa Lian. Look at this origin sky peak, it was completely built by Master alone. Here Master is a god. Next, Year 2 and Little Fool talked about the things that happened in spiritual capital, the gossip of the royal family, the disputes of various places. Paragon Fa Lien hummed a little tune as he listened to his disciple's story, and the corner of his mouth curled up. Looks like spiritual capital has been peaceful these few years. Everything is peaceful. How is Kangluo continent? Paragon Fa Lien asked indifferently. Little Fool said respectfully, since that battle 5 years ago, Master eliminated the head of evil, Kangluo continent has maintained a peaceful trend, but there are still some small battles. 5 years ago, that is really unforgettable. Paragon Fa Lien chuckled and took a sip of tea. Year 2 said respectfully, Master can deal with evil that is following the will of the heavens. How can those evil people be Master's match? Year 2, there are laws in all Daos, remember this. Paragon Fa Lien called out. Disciple will remember this. Little Fool suddenly thought of something and said respectfully, Master, disciple recently heard that a branch of this deity was massacred. There is such a thing? Paragon Fa Lien sat up and put down the teacup in his hand. His expression was a little serious. Year 2 said, Master, this matter has shaken the royal family. Spirit Emperor has sent people to investigate. I believe there will be news soon. Chapter 559. A trace of doubt flashed past Supremacy Fa Lien's eyes. Speaking of extermination, Supremacy Fa Lien thought of that group of evil leaders. That group of evil leaders was their signature. Soon after, he laughed lightly. Since they were all exterminated by us, how could they possibly still be alive? Spirit Emperor is still suspecting if it was done by that group of people back then, Big Two said softly. After all, no one wanted to talk about that world-destroying battle. Many supremacies had fallen. That group of people was simply too powerful. Fortunately, Teacher joined hands with other powerful supremacies and killed all of them, and only then was Kangluo continent safe, returning peace to the world. Hearing what Big Two said, Supremacy Fa Lien was a bit displeased. That group of people was already killed by me. Even if the world is destroyed, they will not be able to return. However, just when Supremacy Fa Lien finished speaking, a black whirlpool appeared not far away. Supremacy Fa Lien and Big Two immediately looked towards the whirlpool and deeply wrinkled their brows. Which supremacy has come to pay a visit? Isn't this too impolite? This is trespassing into a forbidden area. Just when the three of them were feeling puzzled, a terrifying aura spread out from the whirlpool. The terrifying might caused Supremacy Fa Lien's expression to change, and Big Two was even more so suppressed by the might to the point that they couldn't even raise their heads. The eerie killing intent gradually engulfed the entire mountain peak. The sky suddenly darkened and rumbling sounds could be heard. A foot could be seen stepping out of the whirlpool. Just this foot alone caused Supremacy Fa Lien's expression to change greatly, because this cannot even be considered as a foot. It is a foot that has no flesh and blood. Could it be? Supremacy Fa Lien's expression changed greatly. When Supremacy Fa Lien saw that familiar robe, he looked at that pair of empty eye sockets that were emitting red light in disbelief. Big Two used all their strength to raise their heads and look at the figure that was not far away from them, and when they saw that pair of eye sockets, their minds became completely blank. After all, the two of them did not participate in that battle, but they had also heard about how terrifying that battle was. How tragic it was. Supremacies fell one after another, causing everyone to tremble in fear. After all, those were supremacies, not small fries. To be able to kill powerful supremacies, just what kind of person was that? It was said that the leader of that group was a skeleton that wore a robe. That skeleton was completely inhumane. That skeleton would kill anyone he saw, and in his eyes human lives were not even worth a single straw. Who was this skeleton in front of him? Didn't Master say that even if the world was destroyed, those people wouldn't come back? What was happening now? Was this skeleton the same as before? The person who came was indeed Yi Hua. Yi Hua, who had revealed his true form and was even wearing the robe that he had worn back then. His thoughts were very clear, and that was to use his current appearance to take revenge for what happened back then. Paragon Fa Lien's figure flashed and appeared not far away from Yi Hua. Paragon Fa Lien's eyes were filled with heaviness. You are. Sovereign Valien, are you surprised to see me? Yi Hua slowly breathed out and a boundless killing intent gushed forth. Looking at this person, Yi Hua was a little unable to control the rage in his heart. This Paragon Fa Lien had killed two of his subordinates back then. But things were different now. You're not dead. Supremacy. Fa Lian's face tightened as he exclaimed in shock. How was this possible? Back then all of them had died in battle and they had even confirmed it time and time again. How could they still be alive? Yi Hua spat out that eerie voice that came from the netherworld. If you want me to die, have you asked for my permission? You. Yi Hua tightly clenched his fists and shouted out gravely, Paragon of Lian, originally I had arranged a very good show for you, but your luck is good, so I can't give you that show anymore. You heinous criminal, so what if you manage to survive? There are 3,000 great Daoists. Are you still able to escape from karma and reincarnation? Yi Hua snorted lightly, then said impressively, what a heinous and unpardonable. Have you killed even less than me? Just who are you showing your kindness to? If there's a cause, there's an effect, that's why I came back. Why did you come back? Yi Hua suddenly laughed out wildly. That laughter shook the entire space and the mountains started shaking intensely. Countless rocks started rolling down from the sky. You are asking me why I came back. You all killed my race. Slaughtered my race. Are you all going to write off this debt? The heavens don't care, I care. The heavens don't pity, I kill. The heavens come, I kill. I am willing to be a criminal for eternity. Boom. Waves of terrifying aura wantonly spread out. Along with every sentence that was spoken, the despair and terror that was being emitted became heavier. The enormous spiritual pressure had already shaken the entire origin sky peak to the point where it was on the verge of collapse. The majestic aura was like countless sharp blades, and everywhere it touched would turn into dust. Big and small air who were kneeling on the ground couldn't withstand the terrifying aura at all, and the flesh on their bodies started dissipating at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. What was left behind was a pile of skeletons lying on the ground. Not long later, even the skeletons turned into dust, and even the primordial spirits weren't able to escape. Outsiders are incomparably savage, and killing is the law of the world. You all are the ugliness that the world gave birth to. Paragon Fa Lian was still very valiant. Under Yi Hua's savage aura, his expression actually didn't change, which meant that he had quite a lot of treasures on him. Yi Hua had met too many people on his path of cultivation. Which of the 7 deadly sins wasn't an outsider, and all of them were being chased by humans? How many outsider families were destroyed and yet no one took pity on them? Humans beheaded the heads of the outsider and laughed wildly. What is kindness? What is evil? Yi Hua didn't feel good if he didn't spit it out. These hypocritical paragons are all colluding with each other and their crimes are monstrous. Paragon Fa Lian, come, let me see just how much you have improved during these few years. Paragon Fa Lian immediately let out an overflowing killing intent, and the surging spiritual pressure engulfed the entire place. Rumbling sounds rang out, and it was as if the end of the world had arrived. I shall let you have a taste of the pain back then. Buddha fire illumination. An enormous image could be seen appearing behind Paragon Fa Lian, and an aura that could shake the heavens pressed down. Yi Hua looked at the image faintly, not moving at all. The image slowly stretched out its enormous palm towards Yi Hua, and a golden flame that was like magma sprayed towards Yi Hua. Yi Hua's body was instantly devoured by the flame, and the scorching flame dyed the entire origin sky peak red. You shall die the same way you died back then. Paragon Fa Lian snorted coldly. You are merely a Buddha fire illumination. A sound suddenly rang out from within the flame, causing Paragon Fa Lian to be startled. However, when he saw the enormous image that appeared, Paragon Fa Lian's expression changed greatly. How can this be? How can he know Buddha fire illumination as well? This isn't possible. Furthermore, his Buddha fire illumination is actually black, just like a blackened Buddha. Paragon Fa Lian, you might not know this yet, but I know your ultimate technique as well. Right now, what Paragon Fa Lian was thinking about was, why hasn't he been burned into ashes by Buddha fire illumination? Could it be that my body has already reached such a terrifying level? Sunfall heavenly fire. Yi Hua shouted out slowly. Chapter 560. Sovereign Fa Lian, go to hell with your repentance. That's where you belong. As for the others, I'll slowly send them down to keep you company. After speaking, the enormous black figure behind Yi Hua stretched out its palm and a terrifying aura sprayed out. Black flames immediately enveloped Paragon Fa Lian's body, and the sunfall heavenly fire also landed on Paragon Fa Lian's body. The black and yellow light exploded violently, and a terrifying cyclone covered the sky. Cracks began to appear on the entire Origin Heaven peak, and it looked like it would collapse at any moment. You will suffer retribution. You definitely will. The other supreme beings won't let you go. You will be killed again. Paragon Fa Lien's words gradually disappeared into the air, and with a wave of Yi Hua's hand, Paragon Fa Lien's storage bag fell into Yi Hua's hand, and Yi Hua's figure disappeared from the summit of the mountain. After Yi Hua left, the entire Origin Heaven peak started to shake, and along with the sunfall heavenly fires devouring, the entire Origin Heaven peak started to fall apart. Yi Hua felt that this was really letting him off too easily. This was basically letting him die painlessly, and this was completely different from what he had planned. From the moment Yi Hua appeared until the end, the entire process only took about 5 minutes. In actuality, Yi Hua could have been faster, but Yi Hua couldn't help but want to continue chatting for a while. If not, he would be letting the other party die too easily. In the bedroom on the second floor of the bar, Yi Hua appeared. When Donghuang Baiji saw Yi Hua, she finally let out a sigh of relief. God bless me, I am safe and sound. When the few people from the 7 great sins saw that his honor had returned, and that Sovereign Fa Lien was most likely dead, everyone felt that Sovereign Fa Lien had died too easily, and there wasn't any process of despair at all. Although it had only been a few minutes, the space-time staff was almost exhausted. It seemed that the unborn child was even sucking the staff. How terrifying. Yi Hua hurriedly opened up Supreme Fa Lien's storage bag and took out the blooming lotus flower. However, the lotus flower was a bit big to the point that it looked like a small bed. You all can leave first, Yi Hua said faintly. Wei Chong and the others bowed and retreated. Right now, this was the only thing that was useful. After taking back the space-time scepter, Xianxia's face instantly started showing signs of pain again. Furthermore, the speed at which Xianxia was sucking the space-time scepter even faster. Yi Hua didn't dare to think too much and carried Xianxia into the lotus flower. Looking at how much pain Xianxia was in, Yi Hua's mood gradually sunk. I hope that this is really useful. The lotus flower could be seen slowly closing, and Yi Hua stood at the side and quietly waited. Everyone remained silent because they knew that if they were to speak now, they would definitely anger Yi Hua. Thus they decided to just wait. After all, even Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything. Donghuang Li was tightly hugging onto her mother's leg as she looked at the lotus worriedly. The good news was that Xianxia's cries of pain had become much softer, and Yi Hua could feel that Xianxia's aura had already stabilized, and there was no sign of Xianxia being sucked. This little brat, when he comes out later, just wait and see how I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to spank him. Yi Hua, everything is fine now. Donghuang Baiji let out a breath of relief. Tonight can be said to be a daunting experience without any mishaps. Back then when I gave birth to Ollie, it was very smooth. With a plop, Ollie came out. Yi Hua nodded his head, then looked at the other women and said gravely, You all can go back first. Your Honor, let us continue to observe the situation. When the time comes, we will be able to help out. Zhou Xian said respectfully. Everyone nodded their heads, and Yi Hua did not continue speaking and quietly waited. Unknowingly, the darkness outside had dispersed and a ray of light shone through the window. It seemed that the first day of the new year was a good day. However, when the sunlight shone onto the lotus, the entire lotus emitted out a colorful radiance, and the scene was instantly beautiful. The sound of a baby crying rang out from within the lotus, and Yi Hua was completely stupefied. I didn't accompany Ollie when she was born, and thus I don't know how to feel. However, right now I am accompanying Xianxia, and this kind of feeling is very complicated. I don't even know what I should do. Should I laugh or should I do something else? Little brother is born, Donghuang Li shouted out loudly. Everyone came back to their senses, and even Wei Chong, who was outside the door, walked into the lotus. All of Wei Chang's subordinates prostrated on the ground and shouted out loudly, Congratulations, Your Honor, little His Honor has been born. Everyone get up, you all have worked hard tonight. Yi Hua smiled. He smiled very happily. This little brat has finally calmed down. Your Honor, you all have worked hard tonight. Yi Hua shook his head helplessly, then waved his hand, and everyone was dragged up from the lotus. At this time, the lotus slowly opened up, and Xianxia could be seen sitting cross-legged on the lotus while carrying a little guy in her bosom. This little brat, I am going to beat him to death. Yi Hua couldn't bear it anymore. To do such a thing before even being born, just what will happen in the future? Xianxia hurriedly stopped Yi Hua and said, What are you doing beating your son right after coming out? When the little fellow saw his father, he seemed to be very afraid. He hid within his mother's bosom and shivered. From the looks of it, he knew that he had done something wrong and was feeling very embarrassed. A loving mother tends to spoil her son. Yihua didn't know why, but he said this sentence. I am willing. Right now, Qingye didn't care about all those things. My son is my life. He is so adorable. Mommy Qing, let me take a look at little brother. Dong Huangli ran over with small steps and stretched out her head to take a look at the little fellow. The little fellow looked very similar to Qingye. His eyes were very big and his facial features were also very good. When he grows up, he will definitely become a lady killer. Little brother, I am your big sister, do you understand? Dong Huangli said very earnestly, as if she was taking in a little brother. The little fellow looked at his big sister and was very confused. However, his bloodline was telling him that the person in front of him was his family. Thus he nodded his head. Everyone didn't expect that the little fellow would actually be able to understand. This is simply too mystical. Qingye, this little fellow looks very similar to you. His nose and eyes are simply exactly the same. Dong Huang Baizhi laughed. Dong Huang Baizhi felt that the little fellow and Ali were very similar. Everyone agreed with Dong Huang Baizhi's words. This caused Yihua to feel very displeased. Why does my son not look like me? He clearly looks like me. Although Yihua said this, he knew that the child indeed looks like Qingye. However, the king's aura between the child's brows is exactly the same as him. Seems like the child will also become a ruler in the future. I wonder if Dong Huang Baizhi is pregnant with a boy or a girl. I will know in another month or two. Everyone surrounded Qingye and looked at the little fellow who was in Qingye's bosom. At the start, the little fellow was very afraid of strangers, but gradually he got used to it and knew how to smile. However, when he saw his father, he immediately shut his mouth, then buried his entire face into his mother's bosom. He was scared to death. Right now there was no mishap. Yihua said gravely, "Where is my son's red packet?" The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. How could they have prepared a red packet? They didn't expect their wife to give birth so quickly. Your Honor, next time. If there's nothing else, we will take our leave first. Happy New Year, Your Honor. Lai Gu cupped his hands. Everyone immediately learned from Lai Gu's actions, and after saying that they would give the money to Lai Gu next time, they disappeared. Chapter 561. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. The two of you are truly becoming more and more arrogant. To think that my son is actually not giving red packets. However, right at this moment the phone in Yihua's pants kept on ringing. Yihua took out his phone and took a look. At least you guys are tactful knowing to send red packets. Yihua, what's the matter? Qingye carried her son and asked curiously. Oh, it's nothing much, they are all trash text messages, the kind that involves gambling. Yihua said faintly. It wasn't easy for me to obtain some private money, so how could I possibly hand it over? Come, let me hug my son. Yihua walked to the front of Qingye and said lightly. Qingye reminded, our son didn't do it on purpose, don't hit him. Otherwise I won't let you off. Dong Huang Baizhi, who was at the side, laughed. Qingye's current state is exactly the same as me back then. My child is my lifeblood. Alright, I won't hit you. Qingye carefully placed the child into her husband's embrace. However, the little fellow was grabbing onto his mother's hand tightly, and that expression of his seemed to be saying, Daddy is going to spank me. However, after Yihua hugged onto him, he shouted out angrily, Little bastard, I will beat you to death. As he spoke, he slapped his buttocks. The little fellow immediately burst into tears and waved his hands at his mother for help. Mom, save me. Qingye went into a daze for a moment, then immediately snatched her son over. Yihua. Papa, brother knows he's wrong. Don't hit him anymore. He's so pitiful. Dong Huangli was also pleading for her little brother. The little fellow was currently in his mother's embrace, and he didn't even dare to look at his father. His little body was shivering in fear, and there was even a handprint on his little butt. In actuality, how could Yihua possibly hit him hard? He was just smacking him to teach him a lesson. The situation just now was too dangerous and he nearly made a huge mistake. If he didn't teach him a lesson, he wouldn't be able to live. Qingye hugged onto her son and coaxed, Don't cry with mom here, Dad won't be able to bully you in the future. The little fellow was still wailing loudly and was completely unable to stop. What else could Qingye do? Yihua was only acting like this because he was worried about me. He should be hungry. Donghuang Baiji said. Donghuang Baiji had some experience with this. Xianxia thought to herself, Yihua, you can go out first. Why would I want to go out? Yihua was confused. Haven't I inhaled before? That's embarrassing, we're already an old married couple. Dong Huangli was still a lot more sensible. Dong Huangli pulled onto her father's hand and said, Mommy Qing is going to feed little brother milk. Ali used to be like this too, we can't watch. Being persuaded by his daughter like this, Yihua felt very flabbergasted, and he could only carry his daughter and leave for a while. Daddy, what is little brother's name? Dong Huangli asked curiously while hugging onto her father. In actuality, he had already discussed with Xianxia about the name of the name. My younger brother's name is Yi Yan. Yihua said lightly. 3 fires. Fire, fire, fire. Dong Huangli muttered a few words. Sounds good. Ali, you have to take good care of your brother in the future, okay? You're my big sister now. Dong Huangli nodded her head and said earnestly, Daddy, you can be at ease. Ali will definitely take good care of little brother and won't let others bully little brother. Ali still has to bring little brother out to play. Ali is still sensible. She is Papa's little cotton-padded jacket. Yihua was very gratified to have a daughter like Ali, who is obedient and sensible. That brat caused such a huge commotion when he was born, and even I, the supreme overlord, am unable to do anything to him. Dong Huangli smiled happily. My position in my father's heart is unshakable. After all, Ali is my father's first child, and furthermore she is the most obedient and sensible child. That should be enough, let's go in. And I want to play with little brother. Yihua laughed. Your little brother doesn't even know how to walk yet. It's fine, Ali will teach little brother how to play with mud. On the morning of the first day of Chinese New Year, people woke up very early to eat. After that, they would wait to go out and pay their New Year's greetings, visit their relatives, and so on. The children who received their New Year's money were already impatient to go out and play. There were also a lot of people selling beef skewers and mutton skewers on the streets. In a city like Gaohai City, it was not allowed to set up stalls on the streets. However, most of the people had already gone back home to celebrate the New Year, and Gaohai City seemed a bit desolate. However, in one of the villas, Sky Raising Guild's members were having a pretty good New Year. When they woke up in the morning, Sky Raising Guild was even giving out all kinds of red envelopes asking for good luck. Feng Tian and Feng Di didn't believe in the New Year. For example, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin also gave out red packets for good luck. After all, in the New Year they had to work hard. They had to take back everything that they had lost in the past. Brother Qing, did you discover anything? Didn't you say that it would appear during the New Year this year? Wang Debao asked while eating Kong Shifu instant noodles. In actuality, everyone was eating instant noodles. On the first day of Chinese New Year, a lot of shops would be closed. Even Sky Raising Guild was eating Laoten pickled vegetable instant noodles, and Feng Tian and Feng Di were the same as well. What a frugal guild. Instant noodles were enough. Sky Raising Guild's eyes slightly narrowed. Last night, there was indeed a very strong spiritual pressure. However, it was only for an instant and it disappeared very quickly. I can only confirm that it came from the south. How strong is it? Feng Tian asked curiously. Sky Raising Guild drank a mouthful of soup, then let out a breath. It can kill you with a single slap, so don't think about it anymore. We are unable to move. Everyone, kill Feng Tian with a single slap? Why doesn't Feng Tian believe it? He really wants to try and see if he can kill Feng Tian with a single slap. Sky Raising Guild said softly, Feng Tian, don't think about it anymore. You will really be killed with a single slap. Trust me, I won't lie to you. Feng Tian wasn't convinced. He shouted in a deep voice, there's still a secret weapon. This so-called secret weapon was another personality. Sky Raising Guild knew about it, so he said calmly, I know your secret weapon, so I will give you another slap. Actually, it will still be one slap. I'm sorry, I was just comforting you. Everyone, Sky Raising Guild picked up the instant noodles and drank the soup again. It felt great. Then he put it down gently as if he was afraid that the paper box would break. Actually, everyone, don't worry. Let's just ignore this kind of boss for the time being. Let's find a weaker one first and split the loot. Sky Raising Guild had been playing the Legend of Mir private server with Wang Debao recently. Everything was related to loot. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's let him be arrogant for a while, and when the people in the cultivation world can't do anything about it, we will save him. Then we will have the loot and reputation. Isn't that great? Sky Raising Guild added. Everyone nodded. Reputation was what Bai Cixin wanted, and it was more attractive than loot. Suddenly Sky Raising Guild was stunned. The north has appeared and they are quite strong. We can deal with them. In the snowy mountains in the north, a man looked at his hands and slowly closed his eyes. He murmured, I never thought that I, Xiao Yi, would be reborn again. And I have become an immortal venerable. The time for revenge is here. Chapter 562. At this moment Xiao Yi's silvery hair hung down to his waist. He was wearing a white robe looking like an immortal. Powerful spiritual energy hovered around him. Previously Xiao Yi wasn't even an immortal sovereign, but after his rebirth he had become an immortal venerable. His strength had increased by tens of times. Xiao Yi's powerful strength gave him incomparable confidence. He felt that he could even fight against Qinyan Black Robe. A black long sword suddenly appeared in Xiao Yi's hand. The sword's body emitted black starlight. If one looked closely they would find that it was exactly the same as the Xianyuan sword, only the color was different. Old friend. I'm very happy to see you. Xiao Yi's expression was calm and reserved, completely different from before. The black Xianyuan sword in his hand vibrated slightly. It seemed to be very excited and wanted to start a massacre. Don't worry, if there is a debt we will get it back. Xiao Yi's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was now a terrifying immortal venerable. Whoever dared to defy him would be killed. Black Robe. This immortal supremacy still remembers the debt of forcing my beloved wife to her death. Kinya. This debt of forcing me to die, this immortal supremacy still remembers. And that man. The main culprit. This immortal supremacy will take them back one by one. In a flash Xiao Yi disappeared and reappeared in his home. His daughters had just been born and he had just taken a look at them. Now that he had been reborn he would definitely let them live a good life. He would also let them become objects of respect. Shunan. Ichi. Yunka. Xiao Yi shouted with joy in his heart. However, the spacious villa seemed deserted. The table was covered with a layer of dust as if no one had lived there for a long time. This caused Xiao Yi's expression to sink. He quickly rushed upstairs and opened every bedroom, but there was no one. Xiao Yi's face was very ugly. Thick veins popped out of his skin. Where are they? Where is he? My woman. My child. It must be Qinye. It must be Qinye who killed all of them. At that time, Qinye even said that she would spare their lives. I didn't expect that after I died, Qinye basically didn't let my family off. He couldn't find his children's aura at all. There was only one conclusion. His 2 children were dead. Shunan and the others were killed by Qinye. Qinye, you are so vicious. Voidless stage. This immortal sovereign wants you to pay with blood. After reincarnating, Xiao Yi had completely lost his rationality. He thought that Qinye had killed his woman and child. Your woman and child are all on the blue blaze star, how could you sense them? Because of this, Xiao Yi underwent a crazy change. The death of his wife and son caused Xiao Yi to lose all hope. It was as if he had to kill everyone in the world to get rid of this resentment. Xianyuan's sword once again appeared in Xiao Yi's hand, because Xiao Yi had decided to massacre Voidless Realm and take revenge for his wife and son. However, this was just the beginning. However, Xiao Yi suddenly discovered one thing. Where is Voidless Realm? He had no idea at all. Xiao Yi floated in the sky of the north once again, and with a sinister and scary look on his face, he said, Voidless Realm. This immortal Empyrean will kill until you all come out. After saying that, he swooped down. Below him were some small clans in the north. They were celebrating the first day of the new year. Children were building snowmen outside, playing merrily. However, within a few minutes, the happy house had turned into a living hell. Corpses were strewn all over the ground, and the white snowman was stained with the blood of the children. The children who had been laughing happily just a moment ago had fallen beside the snowman, and their eyes were filled with confusion. Why did that uncle want to kill me? Why did he want to kill my father, mother, grandpa, grandma, big brother, big sister? Why did this happen? Xiao Yi looked at everything in front of him coldly. There was no why. Because this immortal Empyrean just wanted to kill. I want to use endless slaughter to take revenge for my wife and son. Cruel slaughters were being carried out on the first day of the new year. On average, a small family was being exterminated every hour, and the methods used to kill people were simply inhumane. However, some of the scenes were taken by people who were about to die and uploaded to the Cultivation Worlds forum. The video had the intention of warning everyone to be careful of this Xiao Yi. He had already gone crazy. Such a video immediately swept through the entire Cultivation world. Xiao Yi, who had disappeared for a few months, actually appeared again. Furthermore, this time he actually massacred some small families. He was extremely hateful. Everyone prayed to Voidless Realm to come out and kill this Xiao Yi. The Xiao Yi is simply a scum. Right now, Sky Holding Realms team was watching the video of Xiao Yi killing people. What is going on with this Xiao Yi? Why is he randomly killing people? Wang Debao was puzzled. Initially, he thought that Xiao Yi's family must have met with some kind of mishap when they disappeared. However, this Xiao Yi suddenly appeared again, and furthermore he started killing people without any restraint. Sky Holding Realm laughed lightly. Xiao Yi is the target this time. The four people at the side were startled, and Feng Tian said faintly, "This Xiao Yi is the person who reincarnated this time?" Sky Holding Realm nodded his head. Bai Cixin said confusedly, "Then does that mean that Xiao Yi was killed at the start?" Feng Tian snorted coldly, "Who cares if he was killed or not? That black weapon in his hand is not bad, I want it. Don't worry, the more powerful the person who reincarnated, the more treasures they would have on them." Sky Holding Realm said faintly. "Big Brother Qing, then when are we going to make a move?" Wang Debao asked curiously. Sky Holding Realm laughed lightly. "Let him continue killing for a while first. If not, where would the hatred come from? Our appearance wouldn't be that shocking." This was precisely the effect that Bai Cixin needed, while Feng Tian didn't need it. Thus, Bai Cixin appeared very impatient and turned around to go upstairs. On the other side, Yi Hua's family of 5 returned to Voidless Realm. After all, Voidless Realm's spiritual energy was rich, and the spiritual energy in Voidless Realm was beneficial to children. Xianxia hugged onto her son, and a motherly radiance could be seen on the corner of her mouth. In Xianxia's eyes right now there was only her son, and Yi Hua was no longer in her eyes. Dong Huangli stood at the side and played with her little brother. Dong Huangli was very happy. "I really hope that my little brother can grow up quickly." Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji stood at the side. Yi Hua felt very helpless as he asked, "Baiji, were you like this back then as well?" Dong Huang Baiji snuggled into her husband's embrace. "That's right, I was like this when Ali was born. However, in order to keep it a secret, I didn't protect her every day like Xianxia. I truly let our daughter down." "Why didn't you come and look for me?" Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji punched onto Yi Hua's chest with her small fist. "You heartless man, you didn't even want to see me. At that time I hated you to death, and I even decided to never see you again. Your Majesty's temper isn't small, just that I never would have thought that you would fall into my hands again, and right now, you are even pregnant with a second child." Yi Hua couldn't help but tease Dong Huang Baiji. "I feel that my current life isn't bad." Dong Huang Baiji said coquettishly, "Bad man, huh?" Yi Hua laughed heartily. "I like the way the Empress is acting." Chapter 563. Dong Huang Baiji pinched onto Yi Hua's waist and acted coquettishly. Yi Hua lightly caressed his beloved wife's hair. "In this world, only the two of you would dare to pinch me like this. We are your wives. If you don't give us a massage, are you going to give other women a massage?" Dong Huang Baiji said proudly. Right now, she wasn't even afraid of Yi Hua anymore. It was better not to talk about such topics as they were very jealous. Report. A guard suddenly rushed in. When he saw his empress nestled in the man's embrace, he was instantly shocked, and hurriedly squatted down and lowered his head. Dong Huang Baiji's expression sunk as she left Yi Hua's embrace. "What are you making a fuss about?" "Please forgive me, Your Majesty," the guard said while trembling with fear. "Speak. What is it?" the guard said in a low voice. "Your Majesty, just a few hours ago, there was a massacre in the north. A few small families were brutally exterminated." Xianxia looked towards Yi Hua, seemingly asking, "Aren't you the one watching over that group of people? Why did he suddenly come to the north to kill people?" Yi Hua was also very puzzled. "If something were to really happen, Brett would definitely come and inform me." "Who?" Yi Hua asked faintly. "It's Xiao Yi." "Xiao Yi?" Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji clearly went into a daze for a moment, then looked towards Xianxia, who was not far away. "Didn't Xiao Yi get killed by Xianxia?" Why did Xiao Yi appear again? Xianxia had obviously heard it as well and she was confused. That night I had clearly already killed him. I saw it with my own eyes and he had already turned into ashes. How could he still be alive? While carrying her son, Xianxia walked over and asked gravely, "Are you sure it's Xiao Yi?" The guard nodded. "You can leave first," Yi Hua said faintly. The guard didn't dare to say anything and retreated first. Yi Hua didn't doubt that Xianxia released Xiao Yi. He was just curious about how Xiao Yi managed to survive. However, when he thought about the 5-year cycle, could it be that it started with Xiao Yi? Rebirth? The three of them looked at the video on the forum and confirmed that it was Xiao Yi. This Xiao Yi really has the essence of a cockroach, Yi Hua said indifferently. Compared to Xiao Yi, Yi Hua liked that blood demon more. Look at other people in the past, all of them wanted to bring calamity to the common people. After being screwed twice in a row, he kept a low profile and obediently worked at the bar. As for Xiao Yi, he had probably been screwed several times already, but he still didn't know how to repent. He was simply hopeless. Couldn't he just live an honest life? Look at the Supreme Overlord. Despite possessing such great power, the Supreme Overlord never flaunts it, nor does he bully the weak. It shouldn't be too much for him to receive the Good Citizen Award, right? "I'll deal with it again," Xianxia said coldly. Although she didn't know how Xiao Yi was still alive, seeing so many people die at his hands, Xianxia felt that it was her responsibility to not completely eradicate Xiao Yi. Yi Hua didn't want Xianxia to take action again. A person like Xianxia wasn't worth it. Moreover, just now Brett had also sent over news that the target of that group of people was also Xiao Yi. Sooner or later they would have to take action against Xiao Yi. "Xianxia, take good care of your child. Leave this matter to me," Yi Hua said faintly, then looked towards his son who was in Xianxia's embrace. When Yi Yan saw his father's expression, he once again buried his face into his mother's embrace, not daring to look at his father. So fierce. Xianxia felt that she had lost face in front of her husband. "I didn't even kill all the people that I killed and I felt a bit guilty." Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything, she just listened to her husband's orders. However, the entire northern side was in chaos. Xiao Yi killed anyone he saw, killing gods he saw. He was just terrifying. It has already been more than 10 hours, yet there was still no reaction from Voidless Realm. This caused Yi Hua to be even more flustered. This was similar to the incident in the south last year, and Xiao Yi was even more vicious than that group of people. More than 10 families had been killed and even newborn babies were not spared. This was a crime worthy of divine retribution. At this time the Cultivation World's forum was exploding. Why hasn't anyone come to save the North? We're about to be killed by Xiao Yi. Back then our Empress went to save the South. Now that the North is in trouble, is the South just going to watch? Big brother, it's useless even if you ask us to go. He's the act tough Wang Xiao. The big shots on our side haven't responded yet. This act tough King Xiao is too arrogant. We have to defeat him together. Who wants to form a team? Have a safe journey. Sorry for bothering you. Just when everyone was in a state of panic, a new avatar suddenly appeared. What a cool name. Justice Alliance. Furthermore, a thread was made. "Dear brothers and sisters, after knowing that you are in danger, we were very worried. Therefore we have decided to lead our members to punish evil and bring peace back to the North. The time will be 10 p.m. tonight. Brothers and sisters who have just gotten off work can come and watch the battle." Qing Tian was very satisfied. This way I will be able to display the positive energy of my team. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin sat at the side and quietly waited for the reply. Half an hour later there was finally a reply. "I am 8 years old this year, can I join your alliance?" Qing Tian and the others. After waiting for such a long time, there was actually such a comment, and the comment was even pushed down by other threads. Simply shameless. "Big brother Qing, this method of yours won't work." Wang Debao shook his head. Not receiving any attention at all, the moderator doesn't even know how to add a gem. Qing Tian let out a light sigh. "I was too careless. However, it doesn't matter, when we appear on time tonight they will definitely be shocked." Bai Cixin nodded her head and said, "That's right, they don't care about us right now. When we become famous, there will naturally be a lot of people commenting on us. After that, we will be able to recruit a lot of powerful experts. Voidless Realm, if Ying family can claim to be a big shot, we can do it too." Qing Tian's eyes flickered with a strange color. Is the conspiracy behind this twisted human nature or moral degeneration? Bai Cixin had a fanatical look on her face, as if she had already been brainwashed by Qing Tian. Wang Debao, who was sitting at the side, had a worried look on his wife's face. This Qing Tian was just like the head of CX, bewitching everyone, pulling out everyone's desires and then controlling them. What a formidable control technique. Right now it was already 8 p.m. Xiao Yi was sitting at a food street eating mala soup and his eyes were looking at the note. There were a lot of families' names written on the note, and there were already more than 10 families whose names were marked with red bars. Just that, I didn't expect that after I killed so many people, no one from Voidless Realm actually appeared. This is truly cold-blooded. Not coming out, I don't believe it. If I, Venerable Immortal Xiao, slaughter Voidless Realm, I won't be able to eat for the rest of my life. Boss, your food is here. A bowl of fragrant braised meat rice was served in front of Xiao Yi. Where's the egg? Xiao Yi said gravely. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it just now. I will add the egg for you now. You don't have any professionalism at all. I clearly asked you to add the egg just now. Chapter 564. While eating the fragrant braised meat rice, Xiao Yi looked at the name written on the paper. Next one, it's the Qin family. The family head Qin Xuanzong, a dark horse from the north. Currently, Qin Xuanzong was enjoying his dinner at home. There was only one person eating at the 8 meters long dining table. Qin Xuanzong didn't have a girlfriend. Although there were many women chasing after him, Qin Xuanzong only had Xianxia in his heart. Qin Xuanzong's family members had all passed away. Therefore he was the only one left in the Qin family. Currently, Qin Xuanzong was holding a tablet and watching a video. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. The Xiao Yi finally came out. I was just worried that I couldn't find him. God bless my Qin family. Let me kill this Xiao Yi with my spear. Qin Xuanzong cut a piece of steak and stuffed it into his mouth. Blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. At first glance, the steak was only half done and there was still blood in it. The other servants were also shocked to see their boss eating like this, but it was just for a while, as if they were used to it. When Qin Xuanzong finished his delicious steak and was about to eat with a piece of tissue, a huge aura appeared. Qin Xuanzong's face tightened. With a bang, the door was thrown open and the expensive furniture was smashed into pieces. Xiao Yi walked in slowly. When Qin Xuanzong saw that it was Xiao Yi, his eyes shone with passion. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Save me the trouble of finding you. Qin Xuanzong, if you kill yourself, I'll let you die in one piece. Xiao Yi shouted coldly with the black Xinyuan sword in his hand. Qin Xuanzong laughed. Xiao Yi, you still like to act tough. Hehe, I didn't get my title of Act Tough King for nothing. Xiao Yi said disdainfully. A small family head dares to act tough in front of me. Qin Xuanzong stood up and emitted killing intent. Since you're here, it's for the best. I'll settle old and new scores together. Do we still have old scores? I really don't remember. Xiao Yi said calmly. He had too much blood on his hands. He couldn't remember all of them. Qin Xuanzong's face turned cold. He shouted coldly, you killed dozens of my family members and you still don't remember. Qin family? I'm sorry, I really don't remember. Maybe you can give me more details. Haha, have you forgotten that you killed my entire family for the Xianyuan sword? This time Xiao Yi finally remembered and laughed. You are the child that was left alone? Who would have thought that this would be fate? Killing you today can be considered as truly destroying your Qin clan. Kill me. Xiao Yi, do you really think I'm that easy to kill? Next year today will be the anniversary of your death. No one will go and mend the grass on your grave. Xiao Yi was helpless and patted the dust off his sleeves. Don't worry, the grass on your grave won't be too short. Qin Xuanzong said faintly, let's go out and fight. Sure. Xiao Yi readily agreed. The two of them came to a nearby bamboo forest. The temperature in the north was extremely low, especially at night. The cold wind howled and it was bone-chilling. Right now it was probably a few degrees below zero. Rustling sounds could be heard from the bamboo forest. Fallen leaves fell down as if hinting at some kind of message. Xiao Yi and Qin Xuanzong stood opposite each other. This was a fated battle. Qin Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, had come back to this world to take revenge. Moreover, he had been looking for a chance to kill Xiao Yi. Now the time had come. Killing Xiao Yi would make him more famous. Immortal Emperor versus Devil Emperor. However, Xiao Yi was probably not an immortal emperor anymore. He had already ascended to the immortal reverent realm. However, Qin Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, was not someone to be trifled with. A spear appeared in Qin Xuanzong's hand. When the spear appeared, a horrifying aura exploded. The surrounding bamboos were all vaporized and an empty space was formed. The entire spear shone with golden radiance. The sharp spearhead shone with a lethal aura. Complicated patterns were engraved on the spear's body, flickering slightly. 6 shadowy moon. Qin Xuanzong shouted and pointed the spear at the sky. A clump of golden radiance appeared in the pitch-black sky. In an instant, it descended with a violent aura just like a tornado. The spearhead absorbed the might of the sky and became even more dazzling. The violent aura roared in all directions, and the rumbling sound pierced through the heavens and earth. Xiao Yi frowned. You actually have an ancient godly artifact. That's right. The 6 shadowy moon in Qin Xuanzong's hand was an ancient godly artifact. It was a weapon that came from a devil emperor. Qin Xuanzong could be considered to be a patient person. He actually didn't reveal the ancient godly artifact in his hand. If he did, he might also be one of the aristocratic families. Qin Xuanzong came back for revenge. Moreover, he didn't want Xiao Yi to die so easily. Of course, it was also for Xianxia. Consolidating his own strength was just to live a good life with Xianxia. He didn't want to fight for anything. That's right. My 6 shadowy moon is an ancient godly artifact, Xiao Yi. Tonight will be the day you die. Having an ancient godly artifact was a form of reliance. One should know that even a big shot like the Ying family didn't have an ancient godly artifact. They only had a lot of ancient godly items. Ha! Xiao Yi suddenly laughed. Then he swung the Xianyuan sword in his hand. If it was in the past, I might be a little afraid. However, my Xianyuan sword has already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item. It has reached the level of an ancient godly item. After he finished speaking, the Xianyuan sword in Xiao Yi's hand trembled. A half-moon black sword aura with killing intent attacked Qin Xuanzong. He really started fighting without saying anything. Qin Xuanzong snorted lightly. The 6 shadowy moon in his hand stabbed forward. Instantly, golden radiance shone brightly. The two clashed. The color of the world changed. The surface of the earth cracked, forming a bottomless ravine. Gusts of astral winds swept through the surroundings. This was the power of an ancient godly artifact. When the two clashed, even the color of the world changed. The radiance emitted from the collision illuminated the entire world. The result of this clash was 50-50. It was a tie. Not bad. Xiao Yi said indifferently. I didn't expect your Xianyuan sword to evolve. Consider yourself lucky. The 6 shadowy moon in Qin Xuanzong's hand wasn't any weaker than Xiao Yi's Xianyuan sword. Sometimes luck is also a kind of strength. Just like how your luck wasn't that good and your entire clan was annihilated by me. These words stabbed into Qin Xuanzong's sore spot. His expression suddenly changed. The 6 shadowy moon in his hand seemed to have sensed its master's anger. Scarlet flame twilight cloud. Qin Xuanzong waved the ancient godly artifact in his hand. In an instant he stabbed forward 100 times. Rays of bright golden radiance flowed out. Those 100+ spears seemed to be drawing something. A golden figure appeared. It looked like fire and clouds at the same time. It was impossible to tell if it was real or fake. However, this was something released by an ancient godly artifact. How could it be weak? The golden figure was also holding a spear in his hand. It emitted an astonishing aura. As expected of an ancient godly artifact,